Hey, welcome back, man. I'm so happy to have you guys here. So many great guests that I've been able to look at, find, reach out to, and today is one that is probably one of the most interesting people that I'd met, because when I met her, I did not realize that she had written a book. My guest today is a WBFF pro. She's a certified personal trainer. She's a registered nurse. She's a bikini pro. She's the wife. She's a new mom. She just had a baby. She has a 2-year-old. Aria, she's a huge Instagram influencer, and she is also a New York Times best-selling author. She wrote Banished, Surviving My Years in the Westborough Baptist Church. Please welcome Miss Lauren Drain Kagan. How you doing, Lauren?
Wow, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate this.
Of course.
It's fun.
Well, I appreciate this. And when I started this podcast, you were one of the first people I thought about having on here. Yeah, because you live in Las Vegas. But when we first met, you were living in LA. I was hosting Babes in Toyland, and this girl who came up who looked like she could be an NFL running back. Girl, because I'm not saying you have big quads. I'm just saying you look like you kick a 64-yard field goal.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, you came up, and I was like, who is this girl? And then doing more research and realizing it's one of these things where there's these two objects in my head, Westboro Baptist Church, and then Lauren.
Yeah.
And I didn't put them together.
Yeah.
And then when I heard you had a book, I immediately read it.
Wow.
You do the audio for it. You do the audio for it, which is fantastic. I always recommend if anybody writes a book, you should do your own audio. You should do your own audio for it.
I agree.
I listen to the book, and I'm just fascinated by it, because one of the things I like to do on the show is I like to take influencers and make them three-dimensional, right? Like there's all these things, like for instance, Chloe Teray has a brother who has autism, so she's big into Autism Speaks. Wow. CJ Sparks is big into, she's been sober for almost 3 years now. Like these are big things that make them three-dimensional. For you,
more relatable as well.
More relatable, exactly. So for you, this is like one of the most fascinating things, because not only did you leave this cult, the cult behavior that you describe in this is just so interesting, because we've had evolutionary psychologists on here. Dr. David Buss is on here. We've had Jamie Gillette. She's a therapist, a family therapist on here. So we talk about psychology a lot. And so you actually being in the forefront of this, and then the transition in your life, is so incredibly fascinating, because you didn't just like transition. You became a huge model after you got out of a fucking cult. Yeah. That is so crazy, man. And like I just feel like it's so underrated, because whenever I tell people your story, they're like, oh, I know that girl, because they've seen you before. Right. And I'm like, yeah, that girl got out of the Westboro. They're like, what the fuck? Like, because they sometimes, because it was 2013 when you wrote that book.
A while ago.
So can we talk about a little bit about this? So for people who don't remember, can you refresh them? Because I remember the Westboro Baptist Church from it was big in the news back in like 2011, 2012. So you're 14 years old, and then your family transitions over to what?
Oh, wow. This is huge. Okay. So, well, back when I was 14, it was like 2000, 2001, around that time frame. And yeah, my dad brought me and my family. I'm the oldest at that time of 2, and then later on 4. They had 2 more.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brought me into this church, and it was very strict religious, like the one of the only kind. It wasn't denominational, wasn't tied to anything else, and strict religious beliefs, political beliefs, like anti-Jewish, anti-America, anti-military, just anti almost every religion. They were just basically, they were the elitist of this, believing they're the only ones that God actually loves or cares about, and everyone else is hated of God. And it was just really intense. It was a huge culture shock for me, because I was 14. I had a little bit of upbringing in, Catholic, and I believed in God, but it wasn't very strict. So I went into this church. I went from like my hair's being dyed, I'm starting to wear like jewelry, like you're a teenager, you're starting to grow up.
Yeah.
To like, nope, no more hair dyeing. You can't cut your hair. You can't wear what you want. We're gonna change your clothes. You're gonna start picketing with these people. You're gonna go to this cult-like church, and I just had to assimilate. So in the book, I talk about going from like kind of a normal upbringing to this very strict religious place, which I had to assimilate to and drastically change my life, and then be indoctrinated by these belief systems. I believed in God, but they're just so strict of how they judge people and hateful of people that I kind of like, I kind of assimilate to that mindset.
We're going to get into this. So
yeah.
A lot of people don't realize this. In college, I was part of a Christian ministry.
Okay.
So 4 years, I did pretty intense Bible study. And
yeah.
my beliefs are somewhat tempered. I'm still a Christian, but the things that are directly in contravention to the Bible, there are several things in this Bible. Now, so for instance, if you guys are watching this and you're atheist or agnostic, I'm not trying to espouse Christianity right now. I'm just trying to point out that these are people using the scripture to beat down their own parishioners.
Oh, for sure.
And they're not even following the scripture that they're claiming to to use. You understand what I'm saying?
There's so many hypocrisies. It took me a while because when you're 14, you're still trying to figure things out. You're still figuring out life.
But you can read things for yourself about forgiveness, for instance, and tolerance.
They would kick people out of their homes and out of their families immediately over like one sin, and like, oh no, you committed this sin 3 times, that's it, you're out. And then I was like, oh wow, like there's a verse in the Bible talk about 70 times 7. And as I got older and more bold with my thoughts, towards the late teens, like 19, 20, I started asking questions and raising eyebrows. But that's not how cults operate. If you ask any questions, if you have any type of contra to what they believe, they're going to make a sign out of you and they're going to kick you out or whatever. And it ended up happening to me. So it was very strange though, because I came from a normal family, then my family assimilated, then I got kicked out by my own family and the rest of the church, who were the only people I associated with for like 7 years. So now I had to okay, life starts over. I have to figure out my belief system. I figure out my identity. I got to figure out my lifestyle. And that's kind of, I was out in 7 years. So like 21, 22 is when I end up leaving. But it was 2013 that I finally had the ability to write about it because it was so traumatic. And I was being told by a lot of people I knew, like, oh, you went through something very, intense and somewhat, I guess, heroic, or I don't know, people were able to relate to it. So I was like, well, if this is going to help anyone that's been through like a cult-like thing, or if they've been really intimidated and humiliated by their family, friends, a religion, whatever, then hopefully this can help someone. And I had no idea at the time, back in 2013, that there was even a lot of cults. I thought I was like the only one. Yeah. And now as I get older and older and I am more connected with people through internet, podcasts, whatever, I'm seeing it's actually hugely affects a lot of people. A lot of different style cults, it could be a religious cult, it could be a different cult, but where people are being controlled by a majority and humiliated, intimidated. There's all these tactics that are pretty much similar to programming people to live in fear, and that's what continues them to stay in these places and to not speak out or question what's happening. So
there's some other things that are kind of ubiquitous with cults. So if you talk about David Koresh or Jim Jones, or if you talk about even Charles Manson, who had his own cult, in those type of situations, there's usually some kind of like sexual impropriety. Was there anything like that with Pastor Phelps?
Honestly, there was nothing like that. Nothing sexual at all. And, I think that what helped brainwash me so much is because there was a lot of really good things about these people that made me trust them so much. We were hugely unified as people. I thought I was part of their family. If a new baby came in, all of us came over and would like help take care of the baby. Like I'm talking multiple different households. We're all making dinner for everybody. It was just this huge unified group of people that it seemed like were compassionate at all costs and unified at all costs. So I never felt threatened or abused or neglected or anything like that. And definitely nothing sexual wise. They were very strict about anything related to sex. Like you can't have sex before marriage. You can't date. Like there's no sexual impropriety.
So none of the hypocrisies dealt with that. So you understand even like in and I'm not going to say the religion of the state up north of ours, but they have multiple wives, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes there's some impropriety that happens there, right? And that's just some common thing, but that did not happen at all with it.
No,
now let me ask you something. Alcoholism, there was no alcohol, no alcohol, drug use?
You couldn't even drink there. I think like one time someone turned 21 and had a drink with their girlfriends and got in trouble. Like we were strict on every quote unquote sin. They're all about like, this is a sin, that's a sin, and like condemning everything. So much to the point that like we actually thought of sex even after marriage very simple. Like people were anxious, like there was confusion on not even being okay because
sex after marriage, even during marriage,
the way
sex
you
is weird.
feel about it, because it's so off limits and it was so condemned that like nobody was even like that would be weird for someone to be like,
you gotta ask permission to have sex when you're married.
You can't talk about how your sex life is amazing as a married woman because that's also like, oh, she's talking about sex, So God, it was so awkward. It was just so awkward.
Okay, now you did mention the misogyny. However, you did mention that you said before in previous interviews about how men were starting to take over all the decision-making process, and you were being told who you would be able to date and who you were able to marry.
Yeah, there was a lot of control. So right around when I was towards the end of my stay there, and I didn't know that was the case. I thought I was going to be there for life, honestly. I was a diehard believer in God and in what we did. And I started asking questions because I'm 20. I'm like, okay, well, I'm about to graduate college. I'm about to become a nurse. There's potential suitors in this church. And I really was just curious, how do you go about going from not dating at all to a marriage where you're having sex with someone you don't even know. Like that seems like a huge jump in my opinion. You can't date them, you can't kiss them, you can't touch them, but you're going to have their babies right now and all of their baby. Like it was weird to me. So I needed to know the process just mentally. I wasn't even like infatuated with anyone like that way. So when I started asking the questions, I go, no, she's being, evil. She's got like the devil in her. She's asking too many questions.
So your agency as a woman is what was evil.
Just asking questions about the legitimacy of it.
Well, no, but you're saying I'm about to have a baby with someone I've never touched before. That's your agency as a woman to choose who you want to have.
Right, exactly.
Right? That's what we in the United States, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You get to choose. Arranged marriages is not a big thing here. It isn't.
Yeah.
I'm not saying nobody does it, but in a place like this, you have the agency to choose who you have sexual intercourse with, who you marry, and who you have babies with. And they were trying to take that away from you.
That also, they were definitely trying to take a lot of things from me, but at that time, I remember asking, they're like, oh, no, we're, we don't believe in, marriage anymore. It's probably the last generation, this and that. So you probably don't even need to get married.
Okay, so what does that mean? So this is where
they thought back then that like the world would end.
Okay, but this is what I was confused about. When you said, because I heard you say this before, they stopped thinking about marriage. I'm thinking this is going to become like a sex cult at this point.
I honestly was like, what are you guys talking about? And especially there's so much hypocrisy. That's when I recognized the hypocrisy, because the previous generation who had engaged in dating, and some of them had slept with people outside of wedlock, and some of them had children outside of wedlock. I'm like, okay, so you guys committed these quote unquote sins. You're still in the church. You haven't been kicked out. You're not in hell. Like, what the hell? Like, you guys are being hypocritical. So I was like, hi, this is a new generation of kids. We're going to do what we're going to do, but I just need you to explain to me how we're going to date, how we're going to even decide someone is our suitor or not. And you can't know someone or trust someone immediately. Like, hi, I met you 2 seconds ago. Let's get married. It just makes any sense to me. So I called out their hypocrisy pretty early on. I was like 21. But because I started asking these questions, and I feel like I was one of the only ones there speaking up against the authorities, that's when they're like, oh, we're going to shut this down. We're going to kick this girl out. We're going to show the other kids, because I had a lot of kids in my generation, that there's consequences for asking questions.
So they made an example out of you.
Exactly. I believe that's part of what
Have you read any Margaret Atwood?
No.
Have you watched The Handmaid's Tale?
Oh, yeah. I actually started watching that. That is really... I honestly couldn't watch more of it because it's so... the taking away of the women's freedom and freedom in general, and just twisting like the natural use of a woman to have a baby and that being her gift. Like, I just couldn't. Yeah. As a woman and as a mother, it's just like... I felt so much anxiety and pain watching it. I know it's a show, but it's really intense.
It's hard. It's hard for a lot of people.
It's intense.
It's hard for a lot of Christians have a hard time with those books, because the books, the idea is a theocracy steps forward, kills everyone in the U.S. Congress and the Senate, and takes over the United States of America, declares nuclear war against Mexico and Canada and all these places, and they end up becoming this religious theocracy, right?
Yeah.
Basically a Christian version of Iran.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's pretty offensive to a lot of people, but it's hard to watch because, and I love it, by the way. I've read everything Margaret Atwood writes. But it's really difficult. And when I hear some of the stories and they're like, they take away your agency, that's some of the things I think about. Now, the reason why this church, however, was so famous was because of the signs and the protests that you guys would do, and specifically for the intention of getting attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Can you talk about some of the stuff?
Oh my God. I don't like to give them a lot of attention in terms of their signage and everything, just because I think they've gotten enough over the years. And I don't like to like perpetuate their message. Yeah. But they said hateful things like, God hates all of you. God hates the military. Yeah. Our military soldiers that have died protecting our freedoms are in hell. And, these are grieving mothers and wives and all kinds of people that we're torturing, basically. And for our freedom to stand up and say our religious speech. You know? So one of the ones that was most triggering to me at the time, because you get kind of desensitized by these messages when you're there, and you're holding these signs for years. You don't ever get to feel the emotion of the people you're hurting, because you're so opponent against them. It was the first time I was triggered was when I was holding a sign. I think it was way back. I don't know if you remember the Amish girls that were murdered.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So it's children, right? And children's funerals, and innocent children clearly killed. So my mind had never really gone to if all these other adults are innocent or not, but I like children are 1,000% innocent. Like, how could they not be? Like my whole soul just like exploded with it. Yeah. Oh my God, this is wrong. I can't be here. Like, I remember literally feeling like a panic attack sensation.
What is the scriptural rationale for the children being guilty?
I mean, there's places, if you read in the Old Testament and like Jeremiah and a lot of these Bible books of the Bible that talk about like war and how children, children and women can be killed, if God's fighting on the side of those people because of the punishment of their sins. So,
got it.
So basically their stretch of it was, if you lose God in your life or in your country, in your nation, you'll lose, that sin will end up
almost like the Israelites.
Destructing. Yeah, that sin will cause you the punishment of whatever. It could be disease, death, war, whatever. So they made that extension, but they also decided that they're God and they could decide who is righteous or not. So that's the part where I was like, how do we get to decide that? Especially when every single one of us have committed a sin, at least one. And if we haven't, we will, somewhere along the line. So we get to be the self-righteous people that commit sins and then condemn the other people that commit sins. So that was the part where I was like, we're becoming God. We're becoming a judge at this point. And so, over time I couldn't do that anymore. But, that was the one moment when I held that sign and I was like, we used to go out and we had to like get media attention. The whole goal, and the pastor has since passed, but his goal was he would call us and be like, he
said this to you. He said that we want media attention.
He would ask us, what's the media? How many what media did you get? We would send out media kits. There were faxes to every local media in any picket ever. To get as much attention as possible. So, we had graphic, nasty signs, and the more attention, the better, the more negative attention, the better. So we were groomed to think that getting media attention for negative, signage was great. So that's how we were raised to believe. So it was a very brainwashed, twisted thing.
So I have a couple of things from a theological standpoint. They believed that the only people going to heaven were the people in this block in Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah.
Nobody. So this is the part that where it sort of defies logic for me. There are at this time there are 7 billion humans on the planet. Okay. And the only people, I used to live in Wichita, okay, no disrespect, but the people in Topeka, Kansas were the only people going to heaven. Everybody, the other 7 billion people were going to hell, but a few people who happened to be born on this block in podunk-ass Topeka, they were going to heaven and nobody else.
Most of them were siblings and family members of one family. There was only a total of 4 different last name families.
Goodness gracious.
And we were one of them, so we had just joined. So there's only 2 main families and then us and another one.
How does Pastor Phelps describe salvation previous to his birth?
Salvation previous?
Yeah, so how would anyone get saved before Westboro Baptist Church?
He tended to believe that there were several other churches prior to his church, I'm talking a handful in America that still preach this fire and brimstone Puritan beliefs.
Puritanical,
His was like that. Like you can tell by interacting with someone real quickly if they're hellbound or if they're not. And you can identify by XYZ sins, right?
Did he ever identify some church off in Jackson, Mississippi, or in Dallas or something like that also these parishioners are also going to heaven? Did he ever do that?
One time. There was another church in Illinois, I think, and they had connections. I think it might have been through his wife's family or something like that. But it was. We met up with him actually while I was there and did like a dual church protest. And they were like, we decided they're actually not, because the women started cutting their hair and they felt like some of the women didn't stay married to one man. So, if you get divorced and remarried, they called that a sin too. So everything was a sin. Everything was condemned and worthy of hell, and nothing was forgivable. Like if you made a mistake, like let's say you had a bad marriage because you're kind of a shitty human that was unhealed and whatever, right? We all have our issues and our drama and deal. And then you realize later on, okay, now I need to heal from this, be a better person, maybe go into a second marriage as a better person.
Of course.
In my opinion, you can heal from that, right? You can ask for forgiveness and you could be a better person and whatever. But no, in their opinion, nope. First wife, first husband, that's it.
Hey, you know why divorce is expensive? Because it's worth it. All right, so
are you divorced?
No, I'm not. I guess somebody of mine told me that. All right, so here's the thing. So now they're the church in Illinois, they're not saved anymore, right? Because they cut their hair.
Yep.
Okay. See, now that's an obvious hypocrisy to me. This of the 7 billion people on the planet, only people going to get saved just happen to live in the same geographical neighborhood in the same city in Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah.
The other thing, what were the other hypocrisies? So obviously forgiveness is probably the easiest one to pick out, where they're literally like contravening what's in the Bible. What else did you pick out when you were a member that you saw?
Like I said, the previous generations, they were harping on how bad and evil it was to date or seek a suit or anything like that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I have a couple guys here that are basically like my brothers. I was raised since I was 14 with them. I don't look at them like I'm going to marry you. A couple of them, they're all brothers to each other. So it's weird anyways. And I'm like, okay, so can I date someone else and bring him to our religion? Like maybe he believe, you know what I'm saying? Like I had all these questions.
Well, wait, no, I thought
but they did this in their generation.
Yeah.
So the previous generation went out and met rando people that weren't part of the church, got either, most of them actually slept with someone out of wedlock, which is a huge sin. Like if you sleep with someone out of wedlock, you get kicked out of the church. Just hands down, not like that's not even a question. That whole generation, I'm talking like 8 of them did this. 8 out of his 12 kids did the thing that we can't do. And I'm like, okay, how does that make any sense? And why is your sin justified and my sin's not justified? And I just thought that was so hypocritical. And like, yeah. So, and then they would say, oh, well, we've atoned for our sins. And then they stay and keep their child that was out of wedlock. I was just like, that's so much hypocrisy. I'm trying to think of another example like that I have.
Oh, there's plenty.
I mean,
you know, like I just like, so the forgiveness thing I think is pretty big. I had some other questions about like, you mentioned before, like you consider them a cult. What are for you, what were the parameters, not just for Westboro, but for some other thing to be a cult? What would you think those specific, somebody out here is watching
this. So I thought of one more example real quick before I forget. I mean, we read the Bible every day for 7 years, like back to back over and over and over. So I have Bible verses in my head to this day that just pop up. And there was this verses in Ezekiel. I think it was like Ezekiel 33 or one of the 30s. And it talked about when the wicked die in their sins, the Lord does not pleased. He doesn't want people to die in their sins. He doesn't laugh at them. So there's the whole context that they would preach is that, oh, God's laughing at your calamity. God's laughing when you're in hell, this and that. And I brought this verse to them. I said, but God doesn't mock these people. God doesn't laugh.
Right.
And they're like, they just like looked at me like I had 2 heads and like, nope, you don't make the decisions. You don't make the verses. We'll tell you what it means. We'll tell you it's out of context. So if I brought them an actual verse that contradicted their theory, their science, anything, their theology, they're like, no, we don't need to respond to you. It's just all like that. That's how they would be. So if you brought verses and said, what about this, this, and this? They're like, oh, you don't have any, biblical knowledge and you're not really a Christian. So therefore your debate doesn't make any sense. But it's like, no, we're debating the context. We're debating the scripture. And if it can be argued that this thing is this, then you could potentially not be right. You could potentially not be correct. So there is a lot of verses like that, actually.
So somebody out there right now who's maybe involved in something and they don't know what it is, what was your definition of a cult? How would you know? It's just almost like a crab in water that's boiling, but they don't know it's boiling. How would you recognize that you're in a cult?
Oh my gosh, so many things. And I was opposed to thinking I was a cult even after I left for 2 years. That's how brainwashed I was. And I'm like, listen, people, I'm intelligent. I'm a nurse. I know what I believe. I had reason to believe it. So when you're in a cult and we even leave one, you're not trying to believe that you were, because it's very insulting to your intelligence to think that you could be quote unquote brainwashed, right? Like you can't make decisions.
Nobody thinks
you can't make decisions for yourself. You can't be intelligent. You can't string along certain things in your head. And so I wasn't even open to the fact that it was a cult for a long time until I realized that I had to literally be deprogrammed from certain lines of thinking. So maybe I didn't believe I was going to hell, or that the Westboro was the only 70 people on the planet that God loved. I knew that couldn't be the case, but then there was a lot of verses I still believed, or context I still believed in. Like I had a lot of black and white thinking for a while. I would judge people or judge myself harshly. Like, there's things that take a while to deprogram. And when I realized that's a huge thing. When you have to deprogram someone, their thinking is so black and white. When they, I would say for a cult, there's a lot of consequences for speaking differently, having a different opinion, having
so no dissension.
Usually it's public humiliation. Okay. So you might, amongst your peers in the cult, you're going to get humiliated somehow. It could be blast of emails. It could be sit in front of people on trial and get threatened to get kicked out. It could be a threat of abuse physically. It could be money taken away. Whatever it is, it's going to publicly humiliate you and shame you away from standing up for what you believe in, or asking a question, defending some different opinions. So public humiliation is one of them. Punishment, physical or monetary, or just losing your family and life. I mean, I literally witnessed people lose their entire families. Like a man, a husband of a wife and of kids getting kicked out of the church for what they deemed sins. He couldn't stand up for himself. He couldn't defend himself. They were litigiously persecuting him in that way too. They took full custody because there's like I think there's like 9 lawyers.
They went outside the church and actually got legal custody taken away from his father.
They're all attorneys. They're all very litigious as well. So Pastor Phelps was a very, very high up attorney, civil rights attorney, and then all of his children, he made them all go to law school. I think he has 10 or 11 children. I can't remember, but almost all of them had to go to law school, and almost all of them are attorneys. So they're really good at what they do. So he had a lot of.
You mentioned physical abuse. Was there any physical abuse?
I will honestly say they did believe in the spare the rod, spoil the child.
Okay.
So they did believe in spanking.
Okay.
I didn't join the church until I was 14, but it was bizarre for me because I had never, I've been spanked like as a kid, like a 4, 5, 6-year-old with like, a little swaddle here. Like, I don't know. But it wasn't until I was 14 again that I got like hit again. So it went from like 4, 5, 6 to like now I'm 14, 15 getting hit again. And so it's really awkward, and I'm a teenager and I'm like going through puberty and like, you know what I mean? So my dad did touch me, like spank me at what I felt like an appropriate age. I think it was only once or twice, and it never happened again. But it was just like, that was weird. But then there was the children, I know girls were growing up and guys growing up that had really intense, like they were just like punished so extreme. They would watch their sibling get spanked with like a wooden spoon or something like that. Like really, really like loud screaming, terrified for them. And they're like, oh my God, do I save my sibling or just watch it happen? So I personally think it was taken too far. And then the previous generation, they told us that they were beaten within an inch of their life. Like literally that was part of their scare tactic and their humiliation tactic. Right. You guys got it so good. Yeah. We just used wooden paddles on you, and we used to get like beaten within an inch of our life. So I know it happened just because so many of them shared it with me. And they almost had like an anger about it, like resentment built up. And then they used it on top of that to tell us, oh, you guys got it so good. You just get a little swat here and there. So that happened. But I will say, it wasn't like someone's drinking and coming home and kicking the dog.
Okay, got it.
It wasn't like that type of abuse. Like it was happening because we messed up or we did a sin and we weren't supposed to do it and we're staying out of line. I'm not saying it was justified. I'm just saying I didn't find it like to be an assaultive, abusive situation where we're just getting hit for no freaking reason. I found it to be like they used that verse to go to the full extent of whatever punishment they wanted to do. And that I don't know, it seemed a little too much, honestly.
What about people of different ethnic groups? Did they have judgments about people of different ethnic groups? Were there any ethnic groups that weren't allowed to be saved?
I mean, they were trying to, it was so funny. They were trying to interpret Revelation. I remember we had like each summer we'd have like a focus, like Revelation, this is this summer or whatever. And I remember the pastor was trying to figure out what the hell Revelation means, like the whole thing. And, it talks about Jews coming back and everything. And so for the longest time, we had this tagline that we hated, that, God hates the Jews because Jews killed Christ. And so we were all like anti-Jew for a while.
But yet you're reading the Old Testament, which is completely populated by Jews.
Right.
By Jews, yeah.
Yes. So he was having a hard time. He was having a hard time making it all make sense.
Pastor Phelps.
Yes, Pastor Phelps. Yeah. And I remember me being thoroughly confused about what our stance was on Jews as a teenager. And I'm like, can you explain this to me? I don't know what we're like. If someone comes up to me and says something, I don't know what even you think. And he would just be like, yeah, well, we think a bunch of the Jews are going to come back, in Revelation in the end times, this and that. So, I think that we will have to they'll be grafted back in and they will be good people again. And I was just like, oh, okay, so God hates them but loves them. Like I was just thoroughly confused. So they hadn't even figured out their shit with it. And in fact, I know people when they were there, they were told, because we would be told these extreme ass things that we would just have to believe with okay, I guess that's how it is. They were told that Westboro was going to go to Israel and just abandon the United States because the United States is going under and God hates all of the United States. And we're just going to go there and we're going to help all the Jews come home. That was what we were told. So we're
Can you imagine these people from Topeka?
Yeah,
they go to Israel. They go to Tel Aviv.
And they're children. Most of the people in this church are children. It's 70 people, but not even half of them are children. I'm talking teenagers and down.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, okay. So they gave them they're like, we're changing our passport. They submitted all the children to get their passports ready and their visas ready to go to Israel. And then it never happened. And they're like, oh, never mind. Maybe we read that wrong. They do shit like this. It would confuse the fuck out of me. I'm like, how is not everyone else confused right now?
Yeah.
We're just flip-flopping our religion, but we're really, really intensely telling people where the fuck they're going, but we'll flip-flop and change our minds from left to right. I'm just like, how can people stay here? And there's so many worse things that happened after I left that I'm like, how are people still there?
So what happened? Things you heard that happened to parishioners.
It's horrendous. I don't even... Okay. When the Pastor Phelps, now granted, don't get me wrong, he has done some intensely wrong things to people.
Right.
Intensely wrong. But his own parishioners turned on him. So when towards his end of his days, I'm a nurse, so I do truly believe in dementia and bipolar and chemical disorders. I truly witnessed it. I've even had my own psychiatric issues at times. You know, I know it's real, and I know it's not just like the devil's overcoming you.
Yeah.
They see everything black and white, like everything's either God or devil, you know, everything. So
you read
even mental illness, they see it as like being possessed.
Yeah. You read about bipolar disorder, right? That's a very black and white sort of stratified thinking. You are either the greatest person who's ever lived, or you're the devil, and I'm going to sleep with your brother.
You have to give me a list of your books. I'm down.
Yeah,
to read.
for sure.
I haven't read this one. But.
Bipolar is so there's 4 cluster B personality disorders: antisocial personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder.
I'm obsessed with mental health education, by the way.
So go in DSM-5 under mental disorders. It goes mad, bad, and sad. Mad are the mad are the ones where it's like schizotypal, right? And then bad are going to be antisocial,
sociopathic.
Yeah, sociopath, and then narcissistic and borderline.
Okay.
They want to take histrionic out of it because not very many people have
what the hell that
histrionic.
one is.
It's basically everything is just this big soap opera explosion. It's all about you. It's kind of narcissism.
Okay.
And then sad is going to be like, you know, depression, exactly like that. So mad, bad, and sad. The cluster B is bad. So that's going to be sociopaths, borderline, and narcissists,
you got
right?
Me on that, yeah.
Right. So when you say everything is black and white, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of somebody who's borderline. That's what it seems like. And like you said before, go ahead.
I'll share a couple things along those lines. First of all, I witnessed firsthand that Pastor Phelps had bipolar tendencies, like manic depressive. Like I'm talking, he would go weeks where he would just like be on his bicycle training for weeks. He was like 75, 80 years old, and he was in great shape. I give him credit. The guy really did keep his shit together for that age. But no, he'd be on his bike for miles and miles a day. He'd be dieting like crazy. I'm talking for weeks on end, like 8, 9, 10 weeks, like checking his steps. It honestly looked manic. It wasn't just like I'm training for a marathon. He would just go psychotic and 6 hours at a time do crazy things. And I witnessed this. And we even as a church one summer came and together and said we need to do something about our pastor. He's acting a little loopy. He stopped preaching for like a couple weeks at a time because he was so like paranoid about what the media was saying about certain things. Like he would watch Fox News all day long. I mean, there was some weird tendencies, but I definitely noticed a little bipolar. But towards the end of his life, apparently, this is after I left, way after I left, and I have friends that have since left. This is her grandfather, you know? And I love the man from a really weird standpoint. Like, he had a charismatic nature about him, and he had this, like, fatherly, grandfatherly charisma that I witnessed, even though he had a terrible way of treating everyone else. So I had this bizarre attachment to him, and so did my dad and my family. And so even when he was going through that at the church at the time when I was still there, so I was a teenager, I wanted to help him like a nurse would help someone going through mental instability.
That makes sense, yeah.
And so he was in the hospital. He was checking he made us check his blood pressure like every 20 minutes for weeks on end. Like it was getting crazy. Anyways, so that's what I noticed about him. But towards the end of his days, he was getting worse with these tendencies, right? So unchecked bipolar or whatever he potentially had, he might even had worse other conditions of delusion or whatever, and they just shunned him. So as soon as he got off the cuckoo's nest or whatever, they just decided to shun him and say, oh well, God's done with him, the devil took over him, we're just going to kick him out. So a man who's dying with like dementia and delusions and manic depressive issues, your whole family turns on you and treats you like a dog. And he was living by himself. He wasn't even living in his home anymore with like looking like a hoarder's because he couldn't take care of himself. His shit was just piling up. He wasn't eating right. I mean, it's pure neglect. It's pure abusive neglect to treat an elder that way. And I was in geriatric nursing for a long time. I know how elderly people get. Even with mild confusion, they need care. They need people to care for them and help them. And they literally just discarded him as if he was a dog. And that happened until he passed. And they also they put him on like hospice, and they prevented his family members that had left, so that no longer part of the church, but they're still grandchildren and whatever, from seeing him. So they changed, when you have a power attorney and they make sure certain family members can't see. So they took all the rest of the family off of it. So he couldn't even have people come see him on his deathbed that he loved and cared for. And then the people that were in charge of his health care were basically saying, God's done with you, you're going to hell, and you're a piece of crap, and we're ousting you from this place. So it's crazy how if you witness that as a kid and you see that your own family turns on you like that and treats you like that, how could you be part of a thing like anymore?
Yeah.
Like, and this is the greatest leader of the place. This is the, founder. When we're going to treat the founder as if he's a pile of shit.
How does this church...
and they did the same thing to his wife as well.
I believe 2 Timothy, where it talks about charity, right?
Yeah.
We sometimes say love, right?
Yeah.
Love is kind, love is forgiving. How does the church reconcile those verses?
Oh my God. This was always such a twisted line that we had to put out. They were saying, okay, so they had this whole rationale that to love your neighbor as yourself is to obey the commandments of God and to tell your neighbor about the commandments of God. So when we tell you that you're sinning or you shouldn't sin, that's us loving you in the deepest way you could love someone. So, but it's like you're condemning people. And if everyone's a sinner, if all of us are sinners, then how can we decide that we're a better sinner than someone else, right?
Yeah.
So it was twisted thinking. It was hypocritical, but we would pump out these lines and we say, oh, well, because we're holding these signs and telling everyone God hates you and God hates your sin, that we're loving you. And this is
what is the Good Samaritan? What is he doing? Like,
yeah.
I'm confused about.
I had so
I'm
many
so
questions.
confused, like how just a complete lack of decorum and kindness.
Yeah.
How that can coincide with what they read in the Bible. And
I
again,
know,
for those of you who do not believe in the Bible, all right?
Much Bible talk.
What I'm trying to talk about is, okay, for instance, there was a lot of criticism by people Muslims when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did that Coors Light commercial. Because according to the scripture he believes in, he's not supposed to do a Coors Light commercial. I'm not trying to proselytize to anybody. What I'm trying to say is they're violating their own scripture. Not only are these people immoral, the thing that the book they're using to beat their own parishioners over the head, they're not even following that book. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, it was very hypocritical. There's so many things too. Like I don't even want to get started because it's just overwhelming. All the hypocrisies that are there. But basically, like, if you ask a question that identifies their hypocrisy, they'll just shun you or basically tell you you don't have credibility. You don't have credibility. Like, that's it. It's like it's a cop out, honestly.
You know what this reminds me of is, so I've worked with some domestic abuse charities, and one of the weird things that happens is a lot of times women will come out of these horrible relationships that are abusive, and they're being judged severely about the way they dress and the way they act, and they're like, oh, I hit you because you dress like this or something like this. Now here's where things get crazy. Later on, they'll do an event and they'll try to raise money for this domestic abuse charity. And I'll be like, hey, well, I want to invite this girl. It's like, no, we don't want her. She's a Playboy model. And I'm like, stop. I'm like, I tell them, I'm like, you're being judgmental because of the man who hit you. You're not there anymore. Yeah. But you're projecting that feeling that you had on us. You think because this girl was in Playboy and she's pretty, her man can't hit her? Right. Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Because it's crazy, because it's like, even though they got out of that abusive relationship, right? We see it right now. Ukraine's in an abusive relationship with Russia. They're trying to get out of the relationship. They're trying to date NATO now, and Russia's like, fuck
That's
no,
a great way to
fuck
put it.
no. You're not gonna date me. You're not gonna date anybody. That's what Russia is, the abusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
So in this situation, you see the abusive boyfriend, right? And he's like, he keeps putting these things in your head. You said even after you got out of the church, you still had religious beliefs that coincided with the church, even though you weren't in the church before.
And
anymore.
a lot of people do. Even people that don't even identify as a Christian or believing in a God anymore. I've noticed it's a whole deprogramming. It's not even your fault, really. But if you think about it, if you're raised with a belief system, it is like, that's your core. That is your die hard. That's how you decide if someone's good or bad. That's how you decide if you want to be in a relationship with someone. That's how you decide everything. Like, your whole compass is based upon what you were told. And if your whole compass is twisted and deceitful, and you found out the people that were telling you thought were telling you the truth were liars, it takes a time to break that down and build it back up. Like, break it all the way down and be like, all these parts are wrong. I'm going to not be that way, and then build a new, value system. But it's like, it's crazy because you don't always know where it's coming from. It's very subconscious. It's not conscious thinking that you're doing. So I've even noticed, like, cause I did a lot of healing this last year. I did like ayahuasca a couple times. I don't know if you knew about that, but
I didn't know about that. You do mention at the end of your book, though, you do mention sometimes where, like, I still have beliefs that.
Yeah, I did. At the time, I did.
So that's what my next question.
Okay, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So we used to picket a lot of every religion, every church, whatever.
Yeah.
We were anti all those different pastors saying they were all false prophets and this and that. So I genuinely believed in my core that if I was to step foot on grounds of another church, it could be a Catholic church, a Pentecostal, it could be anything. It could be the Vatican. I would literally be standing on Satan's doorstep. Like, I felt that in my core, that this is the evil place to be. We were taught about Catholics.
After you left the church, you still felt like this.
Well, yeah, because they had told us like Catholics, you know, we knew about like a lot of the Catholic conspiracies with like the little boys getting raped and things like that. And it was horrific. So there was pieces of truth in. See, this is where it gets complicated.
Of course.
When there's pieces of truth mixed with a lie, it's jarring. You don't know how to process it. You don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I know that this thing happened. I know that these priests were molesting little boys. I know how terrible that is. So everything they told me, pretty much, there's still some truth to it. So I can't step foot on Catholic's property. I can't go to the Vatican. I can't go to Rome and go to any of these beautiful cathedrals because my mind is telling me this is evil. So I literally would physically get like a panic attack. Like I remember my husband and I went traveling through Italy, through Rome and everywhere. I could not step foot on these properties, these beautiful cathedrals.
It's incredible.
Nothing.
Like
I was going to like have a full blown panic attack.
Like you're reading a Bible that mentions the Apostle Peter, and his actual bones are in the building that you're not allowed to step inside of. Like the madness of it, like it also like the prison where the Apostle Luke was held in the it's just outside the Vatican in Rome, and I remember as a Protestant going there and being like amazed, even though I'm not Catholic. I'm like these are the forefathers.
It seemed very like cultural and historical.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even if you don't believe in this, like the thing is the Emperor Nero did, or not Nero, I can't remember, Caligula. That was a palace for an emperor that they turned into the Vatican, the museum in the Vatican, some of the most unbelievable sculptures and artwork I've ever seen in my life. And you can't, and as a Protestant going there, I remember being like, oh, this is incredible, but never at once thinking, well, these people are a different religion, because they are a different denomination than mine.
Yeah. And like, so, I mean, I've overcome that particular thing where I feel judgmental of other people and other things. Because I know, yes, things can go wrong. And those crimes did happen. We can't ignore the fact that they did happen. But I was able to like compartmentalize now. Instead of looking at everything black and white, like all Catholics are bad, I was able to compartmentalize. The ones that committed crimes against children are evil. Like there's no way around that in my mind. But then I'm sure there's people that are not, that truly believe what they think they believe is right in God, and they try to live good lives, and they try to be charitable and all that kind of stuff. So I had to deprogram this whole black and white thinking. All Catholics are wrong. All, you know what I mean? All Jews are wrong. My husband's a Jew. Like I'm married to one. So I'm not racist. I'm not like anti any religion. Like I think that what I've discovered as an adult is I don't like to throw labels on people. I don't even like to throw labels on myself anymore, because I've met so many people with labels that disprove themselves, where they call themselves a Christian and they freaking treat people like hell. They rip families apart, literally traumatize people. And then there's people that aren't Christian, that maybe they identify as atheist, agnostic, all kinds of other things, and they're beautiful people.
Absolutely.
And they've treated people well, and they have good values, and they are good people. So I cannot stand labels, to be honest. I can't stand political labels. I can't stand religious labels, because I just think they put everyone to a box, and we are so dynamic as humans. Our beliefs, how we change. We're growing every day. Like we're healing every day. Like we're different people every second and every year. And how dare I just throw a label on someone and it protects me or doesn't protect me from certain groups of people. But I'm just like, no. And back to the whole thing with like the Playboy thing, like I for a long time had these weird shame beliefs around sex and sexual things, and how much women show their bodies. And can I show my body? I kind of want to, but I shouldn't, because it's shameful, and people are going to hate me and they're going to judge me. And I'm a nurse, so I can't really show sexual stuff, because that's outside the category of a professional nurse.
Right.
Like, oh my God, the boxes and the labels are just endless.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing this for everyone else, and not even everyone else, just the people that judge me.
Yeah. That's
how I'm behaving. And I realized somewhere along the line, I'm like, screw this. People that have judged me have done nothing to serve my life.
Right.
They've been the only ones to tear my life apart. Like the church, they tore my life apart, and me caring and believing what they taught me ruined me. So I'm going to no longer let their judgments hold me to a certain thing. And I also believe generally in life, everything that's wrong has a consequence. Yeah. So if let's say I make a mistake and I do something that's going to end up screwing me over. I don't know. I did too many drugs, or I did too many crimes. Like, once life is going to kick me in the ass at some point. Yeah. I don't need someone to kick me in the ass before that happens. And be like, you suck.
In the military, we say it's self-critiquing. It's self-critiquing.
It's like karma, though.
Yeah,
it's like the universe is going to kick your ass. Consequences are going to kick your ass. Like, why does everyone have to feel the need to kick someone's ass with words first? Like, you suck. You do too many drugs. You take off your clothes too much. Like, fucking shut up, because you're just projecting whatever you hate about yourself onto someone else. Yeah. And if you really look down at it, if you were just in a room by yourself, I would not care how much clothes a girl's wearing. Right. I literally wouldn't. I'd be like, damn, go on, girl. Like, you look fucking badass. Like, she didn't harm me. I didn't, like, nothing bad happened. Like, if you go to a nudist beach or a topless beach, there's girls, beautiful girls, maybe not beautiful girls, whatever. People not wearing clothes. Does anyone actually give a shit?
Or get hurt? Where's the victim of the crime?
Is anyone calling the cops?
Yeah,
No one gives a shit. Not a single person gives a shit. Not even your most conservative Christians care that no one's wearing clothes. They're living their life and like, oh, it's a nudist beach.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm choosing to be here. She's choosing to be whatever. And I just think it's so funny that you can have places in society where it's okay to be naked here, but it's not okay to be naked here, and it's not okay here, and I feel jealous over here, and I feel insecure over here. Yeah, that's all your shit. That's your shit. You feel jealous. You feel insecure. You feel judgy. And where is that all coming from? Because when you're more healed as a person, you won't be that way at all. You will not. In fact, just think about it. Like whenever we go out for a party or to dinner or to the club, everyone's cheering on everyone.
Yeah.
Like legitimately. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're coming from. This girl's shaking her ass. That girl's shaking her ass. Everybody is happy and everybody's cheering for everyone. No one is saying, oh, I think you shouldn't do that because you're Christian, or oh my God, I don't want you to show your ass. Almost everyone that's there is supporting you people. And I think that's so funny, but in that context, it's allowed. But if I'm on my private Instagram, that's not allowed. Or on a different app, that's not allowed. So I'm allowed to be who I am just when people cheer me on in a certain room of what context. I think that's dumb. I think it's honestly so stupid.
Yeah.
And even in the Bible, there's places where women were naked. Yeah. And men were attracted to them while watching them bathe in the water.
Right.
And there's so much sex in the Bible. So much sex.
There is.
And it's so funny that God made us. We're highly attracted to each other. We're highly sexual beings. And yet that's wrong. Right. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't make any sense.
I have a question.
We wouldn't even have babies. We wouldn't have families. We wouldn't have society without sex. I have a question.
So I'm pretty sure what the church's stance on human evolution is. Have you changed your stance on things like human evolution? Like, do you believe we came from Homo habilis, Australopithecus?
No, I don't believe in evolution at all. I honestly, and I love science. I love the shit out of science. I love the shit out of studying science, scientists. I love studies just on anything. And if you can rationally explain something to me and I can make that connection, I'm all for it.
Okay.
And I don't even think that science has to be against the Bible or vice versa.
I'm with you.
I like when history, science, and Bible all match up somehow. And I think there are ways for that to happen. For me, with the evolutionary thing, it's just like, how the fuck do we have apes and humans, but none of the middle people?
Well, we do. So Australopithecus. So
but that's just one example. Right, then you have a lot of like algae still exists, but yet that grew into something else.
No, it's a great example. So humans did not come from apes. Humans and apes have a common ancestor. Humans came from Australopithecus 3 million years ago, and we have bones for them. So we know that Australopithecus existed. Homo sapiens, before they were Homo sapiens,
so you
had
believe
snouts.
in evolution?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've studied for the last 20 years. I had Dr. David Buss, the foremost evolutionary psychologist, on here before, and actually things start making a lot more sense when you look at humans through an evolutionary sense. Like, because listen, there's all these
I just personally find a lot of missing links. I find a lot of missing links. I know that there's explanations for it, and I'm not against it. This is why I need to start my own podcast, because honestly, I'm married to a man who believes in evolution. Of course. To his core.
Because he's Russian.
He's an atheist. Well, he identifies as agnostic at this point. But he's not a Christian. He doesn't believe in God. Everything's like evolution-based, science-based. Like, we're different humans at every level.
He grew up in Russia, correct? So he got his primary education in a country.
He's going through a rough time with all this stuff that's going on with Russia, because he escaped religious persecution. Of course. He's part Jewish. He lost his family lost their jobs due to this. They had to migrate basically against their will to escape fascism, anti-Jewish things. And then on top of that, their propaganda has been intense for a really long time. They've only ever had president supporting things, and they have the KGB that freaking like beats people up that oppose their belief. He's experienced some serious oppression.
So let's put some background here, because I know we're really getting off topic, but one of the things that I find most offensive about what Vladimir Putin is doing right now is that he is invoking the idea that the neo-Nazis have taken over the Ukraine. Right. Okay, so I want you to understand. So for us in the United States, when we think of neo-Nazis, we're thinking of people who hate Jews and other people, any other ethnic group. That's not why Russians hate Jews. They hate Jews because 25 million Russians died when Germany invaded Russia in the 1940s. So to them, their big stand against evil was defeating Hitler and the German invasion in the winter of 44. I forget, it's 43, 44. Somebody can fix me on that one. But that's the reason why. The irony is the persecution of Jews was also happening in Russia in the 1930s at the same time. So this idea that somehow they're this tolerant state against other ethnic groups and that the Germans weren't is complete horse shit. And so that's one of the reasons. So because what he's trying to do is he's trying to create his own Taliban. We created the Taliban, which justified our invasion of Afghanistan. He's trying to create his own Taliban, neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. Therefore, we have to save these ethnic Russians from these neo-Nazis, so therefore we have to invade Ukraine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the oppression towards Jews in Russia was still happening in the 1990s. That's when my husband and his whole family from grandma down, like every single brother, I think there was like four his aunts and uncles, and then the cousins, they all left. I'm talking, he was 9, his sister was like 7, and they all had to start a brand new life, not knowing English, going to America, start new jobs, everything. It was that bad. Like legitimately, they would check their passports and see if they were Jewish or not, and if they weren't going to get a job anywhere. So the Russian army, the Russian KGB, all the people in positions of power in the Russian government were persecuting Jews back then. So, like you said, that might be the reason it all started, but they're definitely they're invading because of oil. Don't get that twisted.
No, I'm just saying he's trying to justify it by saying neo-Nazis.
And he's going to, because he's power hungry and he's a maniac, and he's been in power for like 20 years, and he even changed his own.
We're talking about Vladimir Putin. Yes.
Vladimir Putin. He changed his own constitution to allow his presidency to continue.
Correct.
When it was only supposed to be like 8 years. Yeah, 8 years long.
For a while, Medvedev was the president, and then he took back over.
He there was a short little break in it, but he has propaganda, but Russia has had propaganda for a really long time. And when we think that we have propaganda here, no. Propaganda, like there is not allowed to be any news source or media that contrary to the president at all. You don't even get democracy. You don't get Republican or democracy. There's nothing. There's one story told to the children from the time they're little to the time they're adults.
Yeah.
And that's what they still get to now. So when people, it's just, my husband's really frustrated right now because there's people like, Trump, and then, Biden, and blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, you don't understand oppression. You don't understand true propaganda.
Yes.
Because
totalitarian oppression.
When you are literally believe with your core, it's a cult. He was in a cult basically when he was growing up. To believe that his president, at the time, it wasn't Putin, but it was still the same regime, that they are doing right.
How old is your husband?
How old is he? He's actually going to be 40.
Gorbachev. I think he would have been. He would have been born around time.
But he's experienced the same type of situation, and then they took over his country. So they were telling them how great this country was, and his country, Belarus, was taken over by Russia, but with a puppet regime, with a puppet president. So now Belarus is right in with Russia, and they're also attacking Ukraine right now. That's his country that he thought, he wanted to be patriotic for, and he has family from, and now they're part of the Russian thing, and they're being taught all kinds of crazy shit. But anyways, it's really sad.
Do you know that 75% of people surveyed in Russia believe the United States did not land on the moon in 1969?
I don't know. I didn't know that for sure. I know that there's conspiracies around it.
Crazy number. No, we absolutely landed on the moon. I will give you 4.5 hours on how we landed on the moon.
Oh God, are we going down that?
No,
path?
We don't have to. But so anyway, just going down that whole thing. Let's talk about this real quick, because I thought this was really interesting. You're still, when you're there, you're still going to college, and you went to primary school. So you went to high school while you're still part of Westboro Baptist Church. And you said that this was made for very awkward situations where you're like protesting against students these people were actually in your peer group.
Yeah, no, it definitely was awkward. I mean, when you're in high school, you're already awkward enough. Like just trying to be part of your peers and not be hated and awkward and but I was part of a cult, and I was brainwashed to believe that we're not only are we right, but we're more right than everyone, and we're God's favorites. We had this like self-righteous aura about us, and we're like, everyone at school hates us, and I can actually feel good about being hated because I'm hated because I'm one of God's best people, and I'm one of the best. And of course they hate me. They're satanic people. They're going to hell. So what would they have other than hate for me? So we had this like self-righteous mantra that we believed in, and so it honestly protected us from feeling so shameful. It probably protected me from feeling depressed about myself or whatever, because I had this like, no, I'm God's favorite. Like that's why I'm doing this, and that's why everyone hates me, and I don't feel bad about it. So did
you ever have any crossing of the aisle? So somebody in the church tried to date somebody at high school, or somebody from high school tries to convert into the church? Anything like that happen?
When you're at that age, you're just interested in the opposite sex or whoever, or like, so I mean, I definitely was interested in people, but we were never allowed to cross that line really.
Yeah.
But there was plenty of people interested in us. And, you know, like I said, when we're sexual beings, we don't always give a shit about anything else.
Yeah.
You know, you're attracted to, you know, and sometimes it's the chase, right?
Yeah,
There's different types of chases, but it's like, let me convert this Westboro girl or whatever, you know, it's,
wait, so did any,
or maybe one of us would feel like we can convert
that's what I'm asking. Did that ever happen? Did you guys ever try to convert
people? I wanted
people?
to, actually.
Yeah.
I took that as a challenge. I'm very attracted to challenge.
Yeah.
I'm very attracted to even the opposite side of any coin.
Not good to have somebody like you in a cult then. That's how you sound like the wrong person to put into a cult.
I like hearing the other side. So
Yeah,
even
of
if
course.
you're going to tell me about evolution, I'll sit here and listen. And if you tell me to read, maybe I'll even read the book you're telling me to read.
Okay.
I genuinely want to assess all sides because in life, you never can be fully right. You're always just getting more right, but not always fully right? Mm-hmm. You don't know everything there is to know.
Of course, right. Yeah,
so
right.
You have to learn more to get more right, if that makes sense. Anyways, I've always been a very curious person. I like to be challenged, I like to challenge others, and I like to challenge myself. So, yeah, where was it? Where were we going with that?
As the area of our knowledge increases, so does the perimeter of our ignorance.
And also, there's like quotes about like the more you learn, the more you know nothing.
Correct. That's what I mean. So you think about this is all the knowledge that we have.
I can't remember who said that, but
this is all the knowledge we have, and just think of it.
I think
like
it's something about like a wise man knows he knows nothing.
There you go.
And a fool thinks he knows everything. Or
there you go.
Like that,
There you go. This other thing you mentioned, your family went back and you did have sort of like passive communication through the news media with your family. They had erased your picture, your image. They had markered
they literally Sharpied me out of all my family photos.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you find that out through the news media?
Honestly, they prep you with this information of what's going to happen to you if you get kicked out. Because I watched in 7 years, I watched 7, 8, 9, 10 people get kicked out. I watched like grown adults, like people kick their grandparents out, people kick their father out, people kick their husband out. Like I'm talking someone you would think that has authority in a family get kicked out on their ass.
Because they're getting snitched on by other people.
But that's the very foreign concept in our life. Like the man of the household, he's safe. He's the authority. Nope, not in this church. They'll kick you out on your ass and make you look a fool, and you lose everything you ever worked for. Your wife, your children, your religion.
Yeah, so
I watched that. So when I saw that happen and I saw them erase people's picture out of the picture, pretend like they never existed, shit talk them to no end as if that person never existed, I was like, that shit's happening to me. Like I knew it. But then I got word of it too. Like I found out from friends of friends. When I think when I came home, I saw my face get markered out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of places I knew about it, but it's honestly, it's classic narcissism. When someone the narcissist, when they discard their supply, whatever the fuck.
Narcissistic supply,
yeah. So they discard them, right? So you're discarded. You're erased as if you never existed. They want you to feel like you were nothing to them. And classic narcissism is when you get built up with all this love bombing. So you think you're like one of God's precious little children, and I'm so proud of you. And then when you're gone, you're absolutely nothing to me, and I will make you feel worse than you were dead. Like I remember calling my dad 3 months after I left. That's pretty short after time frame. Actually, to wish him a happy birthday. And as a daughter who loves their father, that's to me normal. And he was just like, "Why are you calling? You're not even part of the church anymore. I don't give a shit about you anymore. Like, I don't need this phone call. I don't need your happy birthday."
So you think that's mental illness? Because that sounds like mental illness to me.
This is just brushing the surface of the trauma that I received.
Yeah.
Just brushing the surface of. I got stories for days of how they treated me.
Yeah.
And back then, I didn't know all the things I know about mental illness. I didn't know even what narcissism was at all. So my mind kept thinking, I'm not doing enough right here. I need to do something different to get his apology, to get his adoration, to be a better Christian, whatever. For a long time, and that was when I reached my rock bottom. It was like from the day that I left to 6 months after, I was fully depressed. Like I was suicidal. And I didn't fully know what that meant because I haven't really studied it, anything like that. We weren't really allowed to delve into mental illness.
Of course.
Everything was just evil or not evil.
And by the way, the Scientologists, they do the same thing. Scientologists do not believe in any sort of study of mental illness.
See,
they believe that psychiatry, again, this is how they would control you.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you said before. Let me say one other thing. You guys snitching on each other and get people kicked out of the church. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Ask your husband about Lubyanka. There's a place in Russia where the military police would come, and if somebody said that they were doing anti-Soviet activities, they would take you there, shoot you in the back of the head, dump you in a pool, and then they would go to the next one.
Oh my God, he told me some things.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, I know of the president that went up against Putin recently that did you hear he got poisoned and he got jailed and tortured? This is just the tip of the iceberg what KGB will do. Yeah. Like, and it's like, they're not the KGB
true. Anymore, but but the KGB lives on through Putin. Putin is a former agent. Like Putin, like the thing
just, I don't want to get like,
I don't care. Listen, Vladimir, you're welcome to come. You can take all the steroids you want. You can come after me if you want, Pam. I'm here for you. I got some friends in Texas too. We're here for you. You're welcome to come. You're welcome to come visit the United States with that bullshit, please. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy though how things have shifted so fast. I mean, I literally had a party for my daughter, a Russian celebration. She's Belarusian. Well, she's part Belarusian, part Jewish. So we had a full blown we're wearing folk Russian outfits and we're listening to Russian music. And we had a whole themed party, and that was just in December. Shit changes really fast, man. It's crazy, but yeah.
But it's not Russia. It's not Russia's not the problem. The problem is the infrastructure at the top of the. Yeah,
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I feel
the problem is Vladimir Putin.
I feel for the Russian people. I'm connected to the Russian people.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So, I was seeing this one meme. I really liked it. I was like, the Russian grandmother who sells the pierogies down the street. She's not the one who invaded Ukraine.
No.
Don't take it out on her.
No.
Take it out on these people up at the top. These corrupt individuals who are at the top of the countries who are doing this. All right. So can we talk about this? You don't leave. Now, here's the thing. You're talking about being suicidal, right?
Oh yeah.
But this is in your mind. When you think about it, this, might be the greatest moment of your life.
Yeah.
And you're suicidal, right? And the way you contextualize it, this may be the greatest thing that's ever happened to you in your life. Your family kicks you out.
Defecting from this cult. I actually have a chance at life and understanding and identity. Yeah, at the time I was just so low. You have to understand, these 70 people were the only people I associated with for 7 years. My mother, my father, my siblings, they cut me off all at once. They said I'm not worthy of God. I'm not worthy of them. I couldn't have a phone call. I couldn't come home to dinner. I couldn't drive by the house. Like if you got cut off from everyone you ever knew or loved in one day, and then they told you, like, go fuck yourself. Like, that's what I had. And even when I try to reach out and call, I would call my dad. I would call my mom. Hey, I just want to can I come home and talk for a bit? Can we talk this over? I'm sorry. I think that I'm going to come back to God in the way you want me to, blah, blah, blah. I was actually really submissive to them. I wasn't rebellious and I wasn't angry. I didn't act crazy. I literally did what they asked me to do. And that showed even more hypocrisy. I was being penitent. I was trying to act apologetic, and they still were like, no, you're not good enough for us. The pastor's not sure about you.
In an interview, your father said that they may forgive you, but you could never live under his roof again.
Oh yeah,
your father said that.
Yeah, he did just say that, and that was so freaking traumatic. I'm still recovering. I mean, like I said, I did a lot of work this year. I did the ayahuasca ceremonies. I did AMDR. I've done hypno. Yeah. I've had a lot of PTSD. So I was diagnosed with complex PTSD 2 years ago. Actually, it was a little over 2 years ago. I was pregnant with Aria. And I was having these crazy panic attacks out of nowhere from, like, I would just see red. Like, I would just get so angry out of nowhere. And I didn't know that I was being triggered. I didn't know my triggers were, nothing. And it was just, it got wild. So I was like, I can't be doing this anymore. I'm a mom. I've got this little baby. She can't be experiencing my anxiety. I don't want to put her at risk at all. So I realized once this was coming out, 2021 was a shit show year for me. But yeah, I was like, I got to heal. And I can't just heal gradually over time. Like, I literally have to get my shit together. Yeah. So that's why.
Girl, you're the definition of getting your shit together after leaving a cult.
I mean, I really knew, but there's a lot of trauma work that you have to do, not just from a cult, but from any type of a relationship that's not healthy. I think so many of us have trauma nowadays. I honestly believe everybody could go to therapy, and not just group therapy. I'm talking like some serious stuff, like ayahuasca. If you don't know what it is, like, it's literally a plant that will send you into a full-blown DMT trip, like the biggest hallucinations of your life. I don't know if you guys talked about this.
No, we have talked about everything on here. Yes, for sure.
But I mean, I wasn't even trying to hallucinate or trip on drugs. Like, I don't even like to be out of control like that. Yeah. I just needed to, see where I had gone wrong in life, and I needed to heal, and I needed to forgive myself. I needed to forgive my family for what they had done to me. I'd never truly felt true forgiveness, like in your heart. Like, when you say you forgive someone, you're like, low key, like, I don't trust that person anymore. Yeah. Like, I forgive you, but I'm not letting you come around. Like, it's just so different to actually feel like you're free of someone controlling you. You're free of someone hurting you, and just be at perfect peace about a shitty thing that happened to you. Like, it's very,
do you feel that way now?
I feel at times at perfect peace.
You're able to forgive
someone
your family and what they did, knowing that they won't accept the forgiveness.
And they're not that sorry.
They're not that sorry at all.
They're not that sorry. Like, I can't even imagine doing what I did to my daughter and just be like, I kind of should have done that.
Yeah.
Like, it's so dismissive and so, like, not sincere that I'm like, there's no way in hell. I know. And I used to need that. I needed the acceptance. I needed to be like, I just need a real true apology. I need their acceptance. I need their validation. And I just realized, no, like, first of all, I might never get it. Yeah. And I can't be a destructive, anxious person just because I don't. Like, that's my life I have to live.
Yeah.
That's my anxiety I have to live with every day. So I'm going to let someone who's not even in my life or wasn't in my life control me. Like, that's so wrong. And, so ayahuasca helped me feel true empathy for people that didn't deserve it at the time, and true forgiveness for them, and true forgiveness for myself for allowing it to happen. Because people have what's called, like, it's not survivor's guilt. It's some other type of guilt. When you don't stand up for yourself and you let abuse happen, you have this, like, guilt shame thing that happens, right? Yeah. So once you finally realize that you've been abused for so long, you have so much shame and guilt because you're like, why did I let this happen to myself? And why am I such an idiot? So it's like another level of trauma that you have to go through.
But you wrote this book that I think helped a lot of people.
Yeah,
your experience. Like,
I had no idea that anyone else suffered in so many ways.
Like, your come up after the book is such an inspiration to so many people.
Well, thank you.
I mean, of course it is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You were able to forgive people who didn't ask for forgiveness, right? That was the thing that you were able to come to the realization of.
Huge for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could do more, and I'm down to do more healing, but that was huge for me, to forgive people that didn't really deserve it, and also to forgive myself for allowing it to happen to myself. Those are two huge things that were weighing on me. Yeah. And causing me a lot of trauma.
My father was killed by a drunk driver in 2006. A woman named Astrid Carlson. She got out of jail for drunk driving. 11 hours later, she got drunk.
Oh my God.
And she ended up killing my father. He was walking around White Rock Lake. Anyway, at the trial, I'm a first lieutenant.
You're in Vegas?
No, it's in Dallas.
Oh.
The trial, I'm a first lieutenant. This is 06.
Yeah.
I'm a first lieutenant. I go to the trial. I'm sitting there. I'm being asked questions by the prosecution. And I looked over at Miss Carlson, and she had just lost her husband. Her husband had died. It wasn't her husband; it was her partner. They
both died?
No. Astrid was still alive. Miss Carlson was still alive. Her partner of like 30, 40 years, he had recently died, and she went into a drinking tizzy. Right?
I see. Okay.
And I remember getting on the stand and saying, "Ma'am, it's terrible that you lost your partner. I feel terrible for you, and I hope that you get all of the things settled as far as your alcoholism concerned." She didn't think she was an alcoholic. She didn't even take responsibility for killing my dad.
Oh God.
And I remember saying, "Ma'am, I forgive you, for killing my father, and I hope you get all these things handled in your life, but you can do that from prison."
Yeah, for sure.
And
there's consequences.
And just not having to carry that baggage around.
It's huge. It's so crazy.
That's when you said that.
Baggage. It is baggage.
When you said that, that's what it made me think of.
I've had baggage for 15 years.
Your light's on.
Oh, what's on?
Go ahead.
I've had baggage for 15 years, and you think that, just because you leave a church, or you leave a religion, or you leave an abusive relationship, that you're done. You're not fucking done.
Yeah.
There's so much deprogramming that because you kind of carry some weird behaviors, some weird habits. You have to self-heal. There's just so much. I think we all have to heal from so much. But yeah, it's really amazing that you were able to do that. I could not do that. I consider myself a Christian, or I believe in God and I believe in forgiveness. And I couldn't physically do it for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't live like this. I can't let my anger and my resentment spill into my daughter's life, because it's a whole cycle of trauma, and it's a cycle of abuse.
That's the way I look at it.
And if I'm abused and I carry my shit into my daughter's life that never asked for any of it, then I'm going to neglect or abuse her in random ways. Like, if I act out on my anger, I act on my resentment, I act out on anxiety, she feels that energy, and she has to witness something that didn't need to happen to her. So I'm like, I can't be this way. I just can't. And I can't. She's my main source of inspiration, but then there's my husband, there's my friendships. It trickles down everywhere.
Her full name is Aria Stark.
Aria Sky. Oh my gosh.
It's not Aria Stark.
It should be Aria Stark. No, it's so funny you say that, because obviously, we thought of the name from Game of Thrones. It's an awesome show, and how her character is just freaking badass. But I actually thought of naming her Aria Star, Star, and my last name's Kagan. So it would have been Aria Stark. Like you could easily have done that. And I was like, for life, she's going to have everyone, oh, you're Aria Stark. And I'm like, oh no, that's too annoying.
That's not annoying. That's perfect.
It is great. It is kind of great, but I don't know. I fell in love with Sky. My husband fell in love with Sky, Skye.
Whoever I'm getting married to, get ready for Jon Snow Sartain because he's coming.
But here's another funny thing. Like living in Vegas, I had her in Vegas, and Aria Sky, there's Aria Sky Suites.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that until after the fact. So,
Well,
great. I named her after something else.
Her name is Aria.
Aria.
So it's not Arya.
Not
yeah.
Y.
So
So it is
Aria's
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool because I was wondering if that's who you named him after.
Yeah.
The hero of the Battle of Winterfell.
It was the show. It was the show.
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Now, I want to talk about the transition, because you talk about this in the book, this transition. Now you are free, but you aren't really appreciating your freedom, but you still have a job. This is different. Like you're leaving a cult with a profession. You're a nurse.
Yeah.
Where you have finished college at this point, and now you go off and get your own apartment. There's an adjustment that happens. Can you talk about the adjustment that you're having to deal with this time, and then the dating? Because you talk about the issues that you had starting to date after you got out of the cult.
Okay, so thank God I had already graduated as a nurse, and I've been working as a nurse for 6 months. So I'm like, I just turned 22, maybe. And so I already been working at the hospital, Coworkers for years, because I worked as a CNA before that, and a telemetry monitor tech. Like I knew what I was doing. So thank God I was really secure in my job, because that was the only security I had in life. I moved it. I was in my own apartment there for a while, and I honestly just grinded it out and worked like as much as possible, because I didn't really have a life outside of that.
Yeah.
So I would work 5-6 shifts a week, which is kind of unheard of. I remember one time my nursing supervisor came to me because I started picking up all the overtime, and they are always telling nurses to pick up overtime. Like they're always short staffed. And then they came to me one day and they're like, "You've been working way too much for way too many weeks. Like you're literally like illegal. You're working illegally."
I just got out of a cult.
And I'm like, I don't have anything else to do. I'll just make money and take care of people. Like I don't know. So I was a high functioning depressed person.
Yeah.
Really, really high functioning. And I wasn't aware that I was depressed until right around, it was during that 6 months, and I got suicidal. And one day I kept just like eating TV dinner. I would go to work, come home, eat a TV dinner, go to work, come home to pick up overtime. Like, and I realized one day, I stopped checking my schedule. Like that was very bizarre for me to like not even see if I'm on the workflow. So I don't know where along that line I was depressed to the point that I just stopped having care, like completely apathetic. And they're like calling me like, "Lauren, you're supposed to show up for work today." I'm like, "Oh shit, sorry." Like no care in the world. Like just went from caring about making money and taking care of people to just like not in one day. And they're like, "Yeah, no, this you can't do this. Like you're going to get fired."
Were there any other members of the church that worked at the hospital?
Oh yes. That was huge for me.
Yeah.
My ex-best friend, we went to college all throughout college together, best friends of like 6 years, maybe even, the whole 7 years. Every single class together, best friends, and obviously ex-best friends. She was another nurse, and she actually tried to get me fired. She would go to the nursing supervisor, and on top of me losing my family, my religion, and everything, tried to get me fired. She'd be like, "Oh, she's making mistakes." She would lie about me and say that I didn't chart certain things.
Yeah.
And they're like, "None of these things are adding up, so we're definitely not punishing Lauren. Nothing bad's happening, but we're not going to let these girls work together." I mean, work together a little bit, but she tried to get me moved to another unit. She tried to get me fired. I was just like, I don't know. That was part of the depression too. And I'm like, I can't even get away.
That would depress me. That would depress me.
Yeah, I think I have another part. I was depressed because I found out my mom was in the hospital. Someone somewhere told me they saw her or knew about it, and so I knew that she was there for something, and it must have been something intense because you don't just show up at the hospital randomly. And I couldn't ask where she was because that's against HIPAA violations unless someone notifies you, you cannot look up their information. So I was really devastated at that time because like my mom could be like suffering a heart attack or something bad could be happening, and I can't even check on her because I'm kicked out of the church, I'm kicked out of my family, and I can't lose my job. So now and I saw my dad that time too. I was walking through the cafeteria on lunch break, and I saw him, and he just looked at me like, "Who the fuck are you?" Like just gave me this like nasty, like you're nobody look. And I was just like, this is really my life. Like I'm living in an alternate universe right now where I can't even check on my own family when they're in the hospital. That was depressing for me. And I remember I called my mom, like, "Mom, I'm so depressed. I think that I'm going to die soon. I feel like impending doom.
Yeah.
Like, I'm either going to die or God's going to return and kill me or something bad's going to happen." And I was just having a lot of panic attacks. And she's like, "Yeah, God will take care of you. Just pray to God and see what happens." And I'm like, "Mom, I want to come home, or I want to have dinner."
You mentioned your mom was not as far out on the ledge as your dad was. Your mom actually cried when you left. Your dad did
cried.
not.
She cried when I left. I truly believe she cares for me and, you know, that kind of thing. But it's just like she didn't stand up for me in the times that it needed to happen. And so it was really discouraging. And I wasn't told anything to bring, like a mother, if you're calling your mother to tell you you're suicidal, like I literally told her that. I'm suicidal. I think I'm going to die. She's like, okay, well, just trust in God. Like, I think that's a cop-out and that's bullshit. And like, I can't even imagine my daughter doing that. Me not being, okay, I'm coming over to sit next to you for the next however many weeks. Like, I just, as a mom, I just don't get it anymore. But yeah, I mean, cults are hugely impactful. Like, brainwashing is huge. When people think that they're going to lose something. Yeah. Like, she might have thought she's going to lose her life or she's going to get kicked out or she's going to lose another daughter. Or when you live in fear and you let fear run your life, you will act really crazy. You will act abnormal and you will act not healthy and you won't act loving if you act out of fear. So I think that's what was happening.
All right. Now, there's probably a lot of people watching this and they've gone through some kind of depression, probably not like what you've gone through, but something.
I mean, it's all relative.
And you get off your butt and do something about it. Now, at some point you start dating again, because you mentioned this before. And at some point you end up leaving Topeka, right? Yeah. So talk about, first of all, the transition to back into the dating life. Was that like a rough transition for you? Because you did mention you had one issue with one individual that got a little scary.
I mean, honestly, the whole dating thing, I'm a very spontaneous person and I just believe in change and stepping outside of your comfort zone. So I've never been one to be like, oh, I'm not going to meet anyone online, or like, I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to open doors. I'm going to meet people and I'm just going to do stuff. Like, cause where I'm currently at's not it.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I'm depressed. I hate where I live. I don't like this place. I'm leaving.
So you were still depressed when you started doing this?
Dating or seeking? I mean, at the time I had a guy that was interested in me and had been talking to me. He's actually the guy, he was interested in joining the church, actually. Oh. He had been following the Westboro and emailing them. We had a short email exchange. And part of the reason they kicked me out is because they were like, oh, you shouldn't be communicating with people outside our jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. Some bullshit. But they really just wanted to kick me out because I kept calling them out on their biblical bullshit. Yeah. But, you know, okay, so he was the one I was in contact. So we didn't even live in the same state. He lived in Connecticut. I lived in Kansas. Never met the guy, never talked to him, nothing. Our emails got me in trouble. Whoa, I had an email. And I had no friends after that. So that was my only friend, quote unquote. And I was depressed at work. I didn't want to date anyone at work. I didn't even want to work there anymore. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm leaving. So after we talked for a little while, I was like, screw it. I know this is kind of risky and like shady. I'm going to hang out with someone I met online, but whatever. I met together and we started hanging out and we became friends and then we started dating. His mom was a cool person.
Was he living in Topeka or were you going to Connecticut?
He lived in Connecticut.
Okay. So you would go to Connecticut to see him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that got me I'm like, anywhere but Kansas. Jesus, right. Kansas is miserable. The weather sucks. The people currently suck to me and I just hate everything about it. So I only spent like 2 weeks on vacation. I'm sold. Connecticut. I went during the summer. It was beautiful. I got like a $10 pay raise starting right off in the nursing that I was in. I was in cardiac nursing, cardiac step down. I love the teaching hospital. I was like, there's so many signs. I'm just getting the fuck out of here. And this is going to elevate my confidence. And it was I dated him. We had our issues. He had his issues. And, he ended up being kind of abusive and he had a lot of mental health issues.
He was trying to join a fucking cult. I can guess.
So he was not exactly. So that came and went. That was about like a year and a half of my life, but I kind of got my stability. I got myself on my feet. I had some money saved up now. And I was working as a nurse at the biggest teaching hospital in Hartford, and it was just, I was feeling really great. And got my own apartment, got my own condo, and then I dating my husband at the time.
Okay, so now this is what I want to ask you about. You're in Connecticut, and so because you're in Connecticut, then that's how you end up meeting David on Match.com?
Match.com. There's a plug. I was on a bunch of dating apps. You gotta understand, this is way before Tinder. This is when people were like, oh my God, you met people online. Like, you're so desperate and pathetic. And I was like, you guys are lame because you're going to meet 2 people and I'm going to meet like 20 or 50. And so I can sort through the bullshit better than you can. And, so back in the day, I would have been a great match proponent because I was just like, I'm going on every single one of these. I'm going to do background research. I'm going to check his Facebook. I was just all about research and researching people and meeting people because I was just like, whatever. So that's how I dated. I expanded my circle to the whole state of Connecticut because I had a radius on my dating app that allowed me to meet a lot more people. And I didn't want to meet my neighbor. I didn't want to meet like my coworker. I wanted to meet people outside my little zone.
Of course, yeah.
And so I did. I dated a bunch of people, like And then I ended up meeting my husband. But yeah, even now, I think obviously it's super popular to be on Tinder and Bumble and all this stuff. And now it's like all the rage. But back in the day when everyone thought it was shady, I was like, hell yeah, this shit's legit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I liked it. I had fun.
So talk to me about why did Dave win the sweepstakes here? Why is Dave the winner?
Oh my God.
What did he do? A lot of guys here are listening right now want to know
what did Dave do better? What else is out there. No, I'm just kidding. What did Dave do? Honestly, I'm trying to think. I was about to go become a travel nurse in California.
Yeah.
Like right after my ex, I'm like, screw this. I'm going to do some dreamy work. I'm going to make a shit ton of money in travel nursing. I'm going to learn some stuff and I'm going to live in California, the California dream. And I was already signed up. I got my license, was ready to go, deployed out there. And I met him and he was just like, I don't know. He was one of those guys where I said, I like to be challenged and I like to be attracted to the devil's advocate. Like, you know, like when someone kisses your ass and just tells you how great you are, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it seems shady. It seems like a turnoff because it's just like, there's no challenge here. And I was attracted to his challenge. So he would challenge me on all the things that I told you now. Like we have so much interesting conversations.
Yeah, but that's what you did. Like, think about this. Like from your standpoint, right? What were you doing with the church? You were challenging their beliefs, right? And then now you're attracted to someone who's like that. I'm attracted that makes sense.
Because I just find that yes, people, they don't help you grow in life.
They do not.
And it's so boring and it's so like lame and it just dies quickly. Like it's like, okay, yeah, we're all sexually attracted to each other. And then what?
Yeah.
Okay, are you gonna have any conversation for 23 hours of the day or are you just gonna fuck for 23? I mean, it's just not. It's not sustainable, in my opinion.
That only lasts for maybe 3 weeks.
It's great. It's great for 2 seconds and it becomes incredibly boring. So I'm just a very intellectually stimulated person.
Of course,
I like to have conversations. I like to grow. I like to learn. I like to be challenged. Like it's kind of a turn on for me. If someone's like, oh, but what about this? And I'm like, I've never thought about that before. And I'm like, oh shit. Like now I need to like know what that means. And so I've always been that way. And Dave's always been one to challenge, like to the point that you either love him or hate him. Like he's just one of those. And I was just like, do I hate him? Do I like him? I don't know. Like I got to figure this guy out. And yeah, it was a challenge for me at the time. And he was like just getting over his ex. And he was like, oh, I'm not into girls and I don't want to date anyone and you're not wifey material. And I'm like, oh, we're about to change that right around.
So he said that to you.
Yeah. He told me I wasn't girlfriend material. I don't think he said wifey, but I think he said girlfriend. And I was like, oh, really? Well, we're going to find out about that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. So when, at what point does you become girlfriend material? What changed? What was the transition there?
So hard. I was 24
and
he was 28, I think, when we met. So we had like a 4-year gap. But I don't know what shifted for him, really. I mean, obviously, I'm the full package, but
I don't think anything shifted. I think he was bluffing the whole time.
It honestly could be. You know, when I was very young and immature and I was barely ever even healed, I was just a feisty little thing. Maybe he wanted to tame me. I don't know. I still feel like I'm not even tameable. But I don't know. I don't know what it was. But we were really attracted to it. We still are. It's 9 years of marriage and 12 years later, and we're like, damn, we still got like amazing sex life. Like we have good conversation. Like, is this even possible? Like the society tells you it's gonna like end like quickly. But actually got better after our daughter.
Of course, yeah. I've seen. It depends if you find the right person.
Yeah, and we both. I will say both of us have leveled up each. So when you're in a relationship, especially long term, someone levels up, or either neither one of you guys do, and you have a lot of drama for a long time, and you just kind of deal with it, or one levels up and one doesn't, and then you vibrate out. One person vibrates out, or you both level up, and that's like the best case scenario, right? But it's hard because not everyone heals at the same speed, not everyone heals at the same time, not everyone thinks that they even need to heal, and somehow we've kind of sort of gotten there. Like it's. The path is like this, you know, but it's
all right.
Still happening.
So anytime, I had Claudia Fajal on here and Dan Stevens. Anytime I have a couple that lives in Las Vegas and made it work, I'm fascinated.
Well, we've only been here for 3 years.
Yeah, that's incredible. You guys are like the 1%. Like the thing is that we
didn't meet here.
I know that, but there's two things here, right? There's the fact that you guys are on the same frequency and that you can maintain it.
Yeah.
That's like, so I have a personal belief that monogamy is not a natural state for humans. It's something you have to work at. Just like if you ever look, I got Jay Cutler. He's coming on in a couple weeks,
Hi,
right?
Jay.
So Jay, when he trains, he's really swole. But the rest of us don't look like Jay Cutler, right? Jay Cutler is not.
That takes a lot of fucking work.
That takes a lot of work. So for him to stay like that, it takes a lot of work. If he stopped working, then his body would change. That's
sure.
how monogamy is.
Yeah.
Monogamy is two people that have to keep working.
Yeah.
And if one of them stops working, then now you're not on the same frequency anymore.
Yeah.
But this idea that the church and Disney gives you, that it's the natural state, soulmate,
It's
is just going to
so
happen for
false.
you. Wait for your person. Honey, she left you
Wait.
because she wasn't good enough for you.
Yeah.
That's these lies that they tell you.
So many lies.
Then it doesn't
So
work.
confusing.
So that's why I'm so fascinated by your relationship. So now you guys go, you leave Connecticut, you go to Florida for a little bit, and then you end up coming
you even knew about the Florida spiel.
I did, but girl,
you know
I listened
everything.
8 hours of your
I'm
podcast.
giving you so much credit for
Yeah.
this. Wow,
Yes.
you know me. You did your research.
I did. That's what. Yes.
It was
that's-
only like 2 or 3 weeks I was in Florida for. So
Yeah,
really
you went to Florida for a second, and then you decide to go to California, and then you come to the realization that everyone in California eventually comes to, which is it is a terrible,
Sucks.
terrible fucking place to live.
It's
and you did the
not
smartest.
it.
You did the smartest thing
It's
anyone
a cool
does.
chapter.
Yeah.
It's a cool chapter, and then you know like vibrate out of it.
Yes.
No, there's some cool people there I've met actually, but
No,
yeah.
no.
But yeah.
Most of my friends live in California.
Like
but it's a
business
terrible place
deals,
to live.
Collaborations, but yeah, it's like the traffic jams, the nightmares, the gossiping, the name dropping. It's just I'm not about it.
Yeah.
I'm good. So where are we going with
All right,
that?
so now tell me, when you decide to get married, you guys are in Connecticut?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What made you transition to say, now I'm going to marry this guy that was a challenge?
Well, this is so hard for me because I identified as a Christian,
Yeah.
and I believe in God strongly. I believe a lot of the things of the Bible. I think there's a lot of misinterpretations of things,
Sure.
and I'm not judgmental of people by any means. Like I'm very open to everything, but he was not godly or Christian.
Okay.
So that really bothered me so much for so long, and I couldn't make it make sense in my head. And I'm like, how am I in love with this guy? How are we like vibing so well?
Sure.
Like how is this supposed to work? Is there something wrong with me or what's going on? So I like a week or two before the wedding, I went on a like little self-revival thing where I went to go, my pastor is in Gravette, Arkansas, but I always just listened to his programs online. So I never needed to go to a physical church.
Yeah.
I actually don't really like the whole physical church thing.
Sure.
I think it's more of a show, but I did my studies on my own. So I went there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask what God thinks. Like, is this bad? What if he turns to God one day? Like, I don't know. Like, I was just so clueless on if this is like okay. And I'm like thinking, okay, I went there, I did all that. Nothing. I got no signs that he was not a good guy for me. Zero signs. Like I believe in signs a lot. And I'll get smacked in the face with like good signs, bad signs, whatever. And nothing. And I was like, am I misinterpreting things? Okay, hit me with more signs. Nothing. I was like, okay, I guess he's good for me. I can't find a single reason other than this bullshit label thing that I needed to. He treats me right. We're attracted to each other. He challenges me. I learn and I grow. I like his family. Like, my family is Christian and they did just abandon me. Like labels don't mean anything. How someone treats you means something, and how that affects you. Are you growing? Are you becoming a better person? Are you progressing? Like I felt all those things. He pushed me to do my book. I never thought my book was anything. Like I literally thought, okay, people want to become an author because either they want to make money or make a name for themselves. They want to be popular, famous. I'm like, I don't know if I need all that. And I don't know if I need it because of the church either, because I feel like I'm almost stroking their ego to stroke my ego. And I was just like, I don't know. He pushed me. He's like, no, this is therapeutic for you. This is good for you. There's people that are going to learn things from this. People are going to be proud of you. And I was like, okay, I guess. And I did it. And it like projected me into a lot of other things. And my first following on Instagram, I have almost 4 million followers now, but I was all based upon the book, and everyone following my journey, leaving the church and starting a new life. And then Instagram started picking up, and I, eventually got into my fitness career, and I love that side. This is like such a therapeutic thing for me, is to get in shape and to feel strong and feel confident and help other people feel strong and feel confident in their bodies and in their strength and in their life. That became like my other thing. It took off, but he was the one that pushed me to do a lot of these things.
Right.
Like even with the fitness stuff, when I started, that started taking off. Like I was already 28. I'd been a nurse for like 7 years, and I was like, we'd been married for a while, and I was like, I'm going to get in the back of my life. I want to help other people. And I noticed, because I was a cardiac nurse, a lot of people coming into the hospital were not healthy looking.
Yeah.
Like that you would automatically assume you don't work out, you don't eat healthy. Like, you don't even have to tell me. I already know, because I could just kind of tell by your lifestyle that you're not. And so I kept seeing all these people, and they're coming in and I'm feeling bad. They have to be on 12 to 20 different medications. We're putting them under surgery, and it's a revolving door of the same group of people. And I'm like, no, this is not life. Life is not just allowing people to go to shit and then drugging them up. Like, I just felt like that wasn't it. And once I got into the fitness thing, I saw that it was like a preventative side of healthcare. Like, you take care of your body, you're stronger, you can be stronger and more attractive over time. As you age, you don't like become decrepit, you can actually become stronger.
Yeah.
Like with Jay, he's probably stronger now than he was when he was younger because he has more muscle mass and he has more muscle memory. And that was fascinating to me, that you can have control. You could take back control of your life, your health, your strength, and not be a little subject of like medication and surgery and the whole. Yeah. So I was just like, I found this like new thing. Like I'd been nursing for almost 10 years and I knew there was another realm of health and fitness. And so that's where I became so passionate about it, because I'm like, oh my God, I can help people become on the preventative side of healthcare instead of like literally just go to shit.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said you wanted to become part of the preventative side.
I wanted to become the preventative side of healthcare. I wanted to help people not ever have to go to the hospital, not ever have to go on blood pressure medication, not ever have to, because every medication has side effects. Every single one of them can possibly hurt you in some way. And that's a fact. Over time, I saw people on something as small as a blood pressure medication or a cholesterol medication they thought was trying to help themselves be healthy. And the next thing you know, their liver's failing or their lungs are failing. Yeah. So it's not all so... like good, like they pretend like it is, you know, you're putting a Band-Aid on one symptom and putting another band on another symptom. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I fully believe in nurses and doctors in critical states, traumatic state, whether you just suffered trauma or maybe you're at the end of some situation, and they'll bring you back to life and they will literally,
of course,
charge everything up. And they're the people that need to be there in that time, in that crisis. And they're awesome people. They really are. But the whole system itself of just drugging, I don't believe in it. Like, I don't think that's the best way to live healthy. Yeah, so I had all these what do they call revelations, and I'm like, oh my God, I can be active, and I can be fit and strong and confident, and I can also like help people. And you know, that's what I started doing. And so I started doing like lifestyle training and fitness training, and I run challenges now, and I've been training thousands and thousands of clients for like 8, 9, 10 years. Can
you talk about the transition here? So now you moved to California with David. There's a transition point where you go from nursing to full-time training, and you're an influencer. So my first question is, you as an influencer, you know, I've seen videos of you before. There's definitely a transition in your body that is like, it's very drastic, right? The first videos I see of you doing interviews when you just got out of the church. Yeah. And then to now where you look like you play outside linebacker in the lingerie football league. Like, I'm just saying, like, where did that so first off, I got a couple questions. First off, when did you realize you could get this ripped? Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Was this a genetic thing?
It honestly was Instagram. It sounds so shady and dumb, but I remember being on there and I saw some picture of a girl with like ripped abs.
It's like Paige Hathaway or
I would see like Paige Hathaway, Michelle Lewin. Yes. All these like girls that were up and coming, and Instagram was just starting to be popular and everyone was following everyone. This was a couple years in, maybe like 2014, 2015. Yeah. Very, very new. And I'm like, oh my God, how do these girls look like this? And I saw a girl, then I followed a bunch of people, and of course Instagram gives you the algorithm, so it makes you follow other people. Yeah. And there was like local girls that were doing it. And I'm like, oh, you don't just have to be like some sick, crazy idol girl. You can actually be like a random like local girl and still get these results. So I literally followed some random girl that was like in my same town. Yeah. I found her, I stalked her down, got her trainer, and I'm like, I need to look like you. How do I do like that? And she's like, oh, okay, here's his number. And I like followed the most lame, shitty diet to get her results. And then that was the start of my journey.
Did it work?
It worked. In like 6 or 8 weeks, I went from like, you know, your floppy, skinny fat. Like not a bad body, but like nothing muscular, ripped or anything. Definitely never had abs.
And now you look like you could squat 8 plates. Like
I was shocked by the results. And then I was addicted to the results, the confidence, the strength. Everything about it became addicted to me, that I had control over how I looked and how I felt. Yeah. And I was very addicted to it. And like I said, I love challenge. So this is a challenge. So I'm like, I'm not one of these people that shied away from discipline or anything hard. Like, I like hard things. So, and I like the results you get from hard things. I know you can only get good things through hard things. So that to me is a part of the equation. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. I'm like, yep, it's going to be hard and we're going to love it. And so I started doing this back to back. And then after that first trainer, who clearly didn't know much about anything because he gave me like the shittiest diet in the planet. Right. It worked, but it wasn't like the best diet. Like I didn't like the food. Then I started meeting other people, and I found...
You're in California at this point.
Actually, no. For a year and a half, I did fitness shows back to back. I did like 6 shows in 12 months.
In Connecticut?
In Connecticut. Okay. And I literally collaborated with you can call them influencers. We're up and coming Instagram model girls. And we're like all the girls. I did all the shows over there. I did Rhode Island. I did Massachusetts. I did New York. I did Connecticut. every show in the Northeast I did. So I did 6 shows in 12 months. I had a bunch of different trainers. I cycled through different trainers. I learned how to do macros, which was so much more enjoyable than the first diet.
Yeah.
So I can enjoy my food and it's tasty. Then I went to another trainer who fed me even more sustainable food. And it was like, I had a lot of carbs in my diet. I had cheating. I was able to cheat on the weekends. I could even drink alcohol like once a week. And so I was learning all the ins and outs of how to be healthy, but in a way that's like sustainable, enjoyable, and tasty. So that was really kind of cool.
When did you see the exponential like Instagram growth?
Oh my gosh.
Was this
so
during these competitions or not until you got to California?
They were actually coinciding. So I was still working as a full-time nurse when all this was going down. When I did the 6 shows in 12 months, I was full-time nursing at 2 different hospitals, Hartford Hospital and also over at St. Francis. So I literally, I was working per diem at one job. I was picking up overtime. I was like in the hospital 5-6 days a week. And then I was in the gym 5-6 days a week somehow. And I was working night shift. I went to the full pool. Like I was killing myself, but I just loved it. I was addicted to this lifestyle. And
can you dunk? Because you look like you can dunk.
Dunk?
Basketball? Oh. No. You look like
I've done it at the trampoline park.
Yeah, you could dunk. You can't. You look like you can kick a 60.
That's random.
You look like you can kick a 60-yard field goal, girl.
But okay, why were we talking about? The time frame.
Yeah. So when I'm trying to, so the transition, like I ask every girl who gets big on IG. That transition. What happens? Like so you're doing collabs and you're doing fitness shows.
I loved the lifestyle. I loved training people. So obviously. But I noticed, and I was trying to get like first place at the shows. So I became a pro like at my 5th show, and then I competed on the pro stage a few months later, and then I got like 4th place in the world at the time. And I was still like addicted. I got to be first and all this stuff. So as I grew on Instagram, I noticed that the social media following was helping your judgment and your placing, or at least I thought it was. And so I thought I had like a better chance. Like, if I'm more known, or maybe I'll be more like likely to like succeed at this. And it's also helping grow my businesses. Like I'm literally training people online. And so I knew it was just a double whammy. So for me, I was right around, if this is 2014, 2015. So that was a couple years after Instagram started. So it was right at the peak when it was just thriving and the growth was like exponential.
Yeah,
I went from like 100,000 followers one year to 1 million to 2 million to 4 million.
Yeah.
Every year was like 1 million growth. And I wasn't even like doing anything crazy. Like I was just posting fit transformations. I would collab. I was a hustler. So I like to collab with a lot of other girls.
Yeah.
Some people are like a little more like competitive and they don't want to collab with anyone. I was like, all of us can work together to make each other grow. And I saw it as a business opportunity. I saw it as a influential, like I could actually inspire people through this method, and it was just so much more fun than my job. And I was just like, oh gosh, I have to do this. But I did it for a year and a half before I even went per diem. So I was still working full time for a long time.
So where's the transition away from nursing?
Away from it?
Yeah, when you're like full time, I am an influencer and I am a personal trainer.
I think it was 2016. So I started training in 2014. In early 2016, I made the jump where I left nursing, and my husband. That
was the first time I met you in 2016.
Yeah, and it was in LA.
Came to Babes in Toyland.
I lived in LA for 3.5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was pretty awesome time because Instagram was booming. Every single like year was booming. Everyone who was anyone that was like Instagram collaborator was in LA. Mm-hmm. So I was just collaborating with a lot of people. It was really fun. I remember that Babes in Toyland thing.
Yeah, those are good times. All right, so now you're at this point. Can you talk about this because you, as far as competition prep, what is your secret as far as like bulking or as far as getting lean? What is this thing that you do that, because I've seen drastic, like, girl, you look like, never mind. You look like, like you look like a female Earl Campbell. Like you could run somebody over. Like you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I think there's an element of genetics to every person.
Okay.
Like you can be a little bit more genetically gifted, but I don't think that's the solution because I have clients of every single body style. Yeah. I have clients of different metabolisms, people with like hormone disorders, thyroid issues. You know, I take everything into account as a nurse and as a trainer. Mm-hmm. I take the whole body into a very holistic approach, and anybody can achieve it. It's like different varying levels of trial and error. It's like figuring out the right diet, not just from the standpoint of how your body responds, but also if you like it or not.
Okay.
So for me, I always take into consideration, if you don't like whatever XYZ foods, we're not going to do that. We're just not going to make you hate it, because if you hate it, it's not long term. It's
going to be hard, yeah.
And you're not going to like it, and you're not going to sustain it. So you're going to up, down, and yo-yo, and you're going to hate yourself when you yo-yo. So my whole thing is more long-term sustainability, making it a lifestyle, finding the foods and finding the things that make someone happy. Like you're 80% enjoying everything, you know? Like that needs to happen.
So I was going to ask you, what are
there's so many different diets to work for people.
What is the thing that other trainers are getting wrong that you think you're getting right? That's the thing you think
they're cookie cuttering it. They're making everyone do the same shit.
Thing. Okay.
And they're also not being creative enough. They're not being involved enough. They're not making it personal and customized. Like I go in and I know every single one of my clients. I don't have ghost trainers telling them what to do, giving them cookie cutter things. I know who they are. I know who they're married to. I know what their jobs are. Like I keep it personal. So I know, okay, this person has a lot of stress. This person doesn't have a lot of time. Like I know all those things and I customize my things to them because everyone's different. They're not going to be able to have the same amount of time. They might not even like the same style training. They might not even realize what foods they like. So sometimes I'll introduce foods that I can tell that they might like. They just never tried it. And it's crazy. It actually becomes passionate. When you're passionate about something, you customize it. You're better at it. You know, when you just cookie cutter everything, like you treat people like all the same. They hate it anyways, and they don't get good results, and then they're not addicted. They have to be addicted for it to be long term. Yeah. So you have to
habitual.
Can't
be willpower.
They have to figure out how to fall in love with the discipline or fall in love with the process, fall in love with their foods, figure out how to, do all that.
When I started doing cardio with a basketball in my hand, changed everything. Now I love that cardio.
There's so much
I hated cardio.
You have to find what that person's niche is, and they might not be able to help you find it, but you'll help them find it.
When I started doing cardio where I was running routes.
And I switch my things up all the time. Like I don't do the same shit every year. Yeah. Like I change up my cardio style. I change up my training because people get bored. Everything that's monotonous, people get bored with. So you cannot say it's the same thing time after time. I have people coming to me challenges 4, 5, 6, 7 challenge. We're doing different stuff each time. I'm not going to make them, if you loved your diet, you wouldn't be back. You're back because you're bored or you're back because you're not succeeding. So I got to find something new and different. And so that's my job. And I just love it because I've been through every diet. And if anyone comes, oh, have you tried this diet? I'll go try it. I'll learn about it. I'll figure out what felt good, what felt bad. I did keto for almost a year and a half and I felt all the good things and the bad things. And now I can tell my clients, I know exactly what you're going to go through. It's just one of those things where I don't cookie cutter things. I customize everything. And I believe that every path has a result and every path can be made to work. So if that person wants to come to me and say, I want to try this, I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to make it work.
All right. Well, there's another nurse who became an influencer who's a big fan of yours.
Oh, really?
TheNurseMary.
TheNurseMary. Hi, Mary.
You know who she is. You follow her on IG.
Yeah.
And she asked, as a fellow RN, I'm curious how her medical cohorts reacted to her OnlyFans and if that deterred her at all or just fueled her motivation to succeed.
That's a good question. I don't have a lot of people asking me about OnlyFans. I mean, I've done one other podcast, The Dating Intelligence. They asked me about it. I'm open to discuss it. I was really closed off for a year and a half actually. And I was still trying to figure out what I felt about it because I wasn't a user of the app originally. I hadn't done a lot of research. The only thing I knew is what people told me. Oh, there's porn on there. So, it's bad. And I was like, oh, that's like a, kind of a heavy thing. And you could lose your credibility, you could lose your status, you could lose your loyalty, your trust. Like people will write things off based upon labels and people will write things off based upon associations and stigmas. So I was just like, oh man, I don't know. And I do already have so much. Like I have all of my clients that I work with. Yeah. I have several online businesses I run. I obviously run the online fitness stuff. I run my Fit Angel collection, which is a clothing brand. And so I was just like, I don't know if I need this, but I realized that it was all about this whole like judgmental thing I was telling you about, back to like the Playboy thing. Yeah. I genuinely do not judge people for the way they look and the way they dress and how they portray their bodies and the fun that they have or the entertainment they put out. If I just had to answer that question. But when it comes to society, now all of a sudden it's a big thing, right? Like like I said, I'm not going to go up to a girl who's shaking her ass at the club and be like, you're a little slut. Like nobody's going to do that, but they'll do it online and they'll do it in society. Anonymous, right. So I find it so ironic and so strange that I would never behave that way towards someone, nor would I accept that behavior towards myself or any of my friends. But yet I'll allow society to make me into this box. I'm not going to go up to a European nudist beach and be like, put your shirt back on. Right. That's not going to happen. But yet we'll do that for OnlyFans and for these other things. And so I'm just like, I also am not going to tell someone. I've seen people fucking on a balcony and I never said, hey, stop fucking. I can see you. I'm like, oh, okay, have fun. You're on vacation.
I'm like, hey, make sure you stretch first. Drink lots of water. Like, don't get a cramp. That's what you say?
I'm like, hey, cheers to you guys.
Cheers to you guys. Can I bring you guys something? You want some watermelon?
Do you need some wine or
that's good?
Add to the party? No.
Do you need light? Do you need more light? Yeah, for sure.
It's just so freaking funny that like we are like this. Yeah. That we have judge people that are doing whatever they want. It doesn't affect me whatsoever. Porn was already a thing before OnlyFans was anyways. And I wasn't going knocking down doors and saying, oh, you need to shut down, or, you know, I wasn't doing that. And so why would I do it with this? Now when it comes to this, OnlyFans is becoming more legitimate in other ways too. They're not just porn related. You know, you have girls on there doing their modeling, or you got comedians, you have artists, you have all these other people that
cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking shows,
fitness shows, whatever. I'm like, you know what? This is just another app, and it's subscription based. And so people can actually...
It's a funnel. It's just a funnel.
Provide whatever service they want to put on there, and now they get to make money off of it, subscription based.
So 2 things. The first was, you know, I'm close with Caitlin Runk, and she wasn't going to do it, and then she did it. Same thing with Chloe Teray.
Oh, Caitlin. I think she kills it.
Yeah,
I follow her
destroys on there. Yeah. And then no nudity with her.
I don't do full nudes.
Chloe doesn't do full nude. She doesn't do full nudes on there. She's only going to do full nudes on an NFT. She works for Taboo Token.
Oh, okay.
And then the other 2 were Kylie Myers, who's never done nudes on there also.
Yeah, I don't do nudes.
And then who's the 4th one? I can't remember. There were 4 girls that Lindsay Pellis, who I don't know if she does any nudes on there because she's posed in Playboy before.
Yeah. But and then there's some other, I actually am friends with some girls that post in Playboy and stuff like that, or Maxim.
But
whatever.
to me, it's like you can't, when they transit, because Lindsay on her podcast said she had a problem, like issues doing it, and then they all transitioned. They finally all did it, and then they're all happy they're doing it. And here's the other thing: it was really crazy. So you know Chantel Monique, you know who she is?
I think so.
She's like Playmate of the Year 2019. She's sitting right where you were sitting, and we were talking about when they were threatening to take a hardcore pornography off of OnlyFans because what I believe is the underwriters for their IPO was asking for that because there's no publicly traded porn company in the world right now, and they were going to be the first. And so what happened was I was talking to Chantel, who doesn't even do nudity on hers,
right?
And she was like, it would be terrible for us. And I was like, really? She's like, yes. She's like, because the hardcore porn brings other people. There's a lot of people who come to the site because of that. And we would be losing a lot of money as creators, even though I don't do hardcore porn.
I don't know that for a fact. I haven't done all that much research on it. What I do know is that I personally don't, my boundary for myself is not to do porn ever.
Of course.
But I wasn't, you know, like I don't know. I don't have any opinion against.
Yeah, because you're not doing it. So of course.
I don't have any opinion against girls that do it. And if they're happy with it and they feel fulfilled, then that's them. And just like in life, if at some point you feel unfulfilled, it's going to happen to you and you're going to feel unfulfilled and you're going to leave that job, whatever it is, whether it's porn or a cubicle job, you're going to leave because it doesn't make you happy. So I don't have a reason to take that away. I mean, if OnlyFans was to take away porn, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other because it's not my thing. And you know what I mean? It's not what I'm doing to create money. But I don't know that it would take everything away. I mean, I think people that want porn will find porn wherever the fuck it is. They will. And I also think that for OnlyFans, in the way I'm making money, I am an entertainer. I am a show girl. Like if you would go to Vegas and you see the showgirls dancing around in they're cute, right? Or even a bikini show. You're walking around performing, showing your muscles, showing your physique, whatever. It's a way of showing off. It is a show. Yeah. People are watching. They're attracted to whatever it is that they're seeing. It could be muscles. It could be your butt, your boobs, whatever. They're looking and they're judging and they're liking. So it's a performance, you know, whether you're a model walking down the runway or it's all just different contexts. But you're doing the same thing. You're showing people your body and they're happy to see it and they're excited to see it. So I've been doing the same shit on Instagram for 8 years for free. Yeah. I've been giving people implied pictures of me. I'm in a tiny micro bikini. You see every almost inch of my body and for free. And then this app rewards its people.
Of course.
And it also has a certain level of like entertainment value, right? You know, it's a weird thing. It's a little weird to me, but it's not that weird really because it's just different context.
You know, it's funny. We talked about the whole thing with Ukraine and Russia, right? I feel like it's the same thing with Instagram and OnlyFans. Instagram's like, we don't want you guys to show nudity or any lascivious behavior on our platform. Okay, Instagram, fuck you. We're going to go to OnlyFans. Yeah. Oh, you're going to go to OnlyFans? Yeah. No. You can't go to OnlyFans. Yeah. You mentioned OnlyFans in your platform. We're going to take away your platform. So now you can't go to OnlyFans. You're not going to date me. You're not going to date anyone. That's what Instagram's doing, right? I feel like what they're doing is horrible. Like where they're like, we built our platform off your back. Yeah. Then we're going to take away your account for no reason.
We're also going to
then we're not going to let you
the
make
shit
money
out of your page.
Yes.
We're going to algorithm's going to screw you, even though those are your followers. They need, you know, they're trying to follow you. I have people that commented recently, I haven't seen your stuff in a year. Why haven't seen you? Because Instagram's been throttling you, and I've been posting the whole time, and you know they don't know they need to turn on post notifications just to even get a be able to interact with my page. So yeah, it is crazy how they're running the page, and it's very discouraging for, you know, people that worked hard to get their following and work hard to, you know, build a connection with people. And, you know, I'm on there and I talk about a lot of real things.
Yeah.
I'm not just pictures. For a long time was pictures and in fitness transformations and all that. But I also post about like my ayahuasca and like my PTSD and my depression and my ADHD. Like I talk about real raw topics with people, and they connect, and it helps, and we help each other. Like my followers are the reason I knew to even seek out EMDR or ayahuasca, and we get to share that. Like we're exchanging helpful information.
So you talk about some real raw stuff. One of the things you mentioned, you're in like the best shape of your life when you get pregnant. And then during your pregnancy, there are some complications. You mentioned, by the way, I'm curious about this one thing because I have sciatica right now. How did you get? You said you had sciatica while you were pregnant. You said that there were some other complications. What was going on? Yeah,
I got sciatica is the worst, man.
Bro, you ain't lying.
I honestly don't think if there's very many worse things for pain wise. So towards the end of my pregnancy, my daughter, I think it was like 8 months through 9 months. So the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. I had this sharp pain down from my back, all the way down my hip, all the way down my leg. It was just on the left side. Mm-hmm. So it happened towards the middle. I think I was around 26 weeks when I first got this random sharp pain. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know if I was going to labor. I'd never been pregnant before. So I show up at the hospital. They check everything. They're like, oh yeah, it's probably just this. And I'm like, cool. So is it going to keep going? Is it going to keep? They're like, yeah, until you have the baby. I'm like, oh, cool. So I'll just feel like shit for the next few months. So it wasn't happening towards the end when she was really growing, and she was apparently sitting on that hip. She was sitting on the nerve, and so it was just pushing down, and everything resolved afterwards. But towards the last couple of weeks, I was walking around with a cane. I went from like being a fitness like guru to like a 90-year-old woman I can't walk down the stairs. I can't get out of my car. I can't sleep without like 50 pillows. Like I
sciatica sucks, man.
I honestly felt debilitated.
Yeah.
I was crying, and I'm like, I can never have a baby again. This is just horrendous. And then you have the baby, it's gone, and you're like you think you're like, I don't know. I felt like I was like 20 years younger after that. I was just like, oh my God.
What is the post baby workout diet routine to go back to being a fucking RoboCop? What is the Megatron?
Post baby, I have so many postpartum clients, and they do freaking absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
you know, because you have to take and consider everything. They're breastfeeding still, so you can't affect their milk supply.
Yeah,
you got to give them enough calories for that, and the right tasty foods.
Well, you can eat more now because you're breastfeeding. Yeah, so you can.
Yeah, so it's actually really cool.
Yeah,
I know all about that kind of stuff. I know all the foods to tell them to eat. They get a lot of oatmeal. They get like sweet potatoes and salmon and chicken. A lot of foods that you would just be able to have. But yeah, no, I mean, we are able to dial their, we're able to get inches off. We're able to get their bodies snatched back up. I mean, basically they just have to wait 6 weeks.
So how long from the baby is born till you go back to looking like Megatron? How long does that take?
It depends for each person. Like I wasn't training until 6 weeks postpartum, and then I slowly got back into it. I would say I was already looking pretty good around 3 months postpartum.
Okay.
So it's not too far. But, you have your fluctuations because then you're a mom, and now you're dealing with a baby. They may or may not be sleeping. They may, there's all these other issues. So you can get snatched real quick, but it's this maintenance that's a little bit harder, finding that lifestyle.
Okay, so now here's the other thing. As an influencer, I'm sure I've talked to some girls that are, so I had a girl, I'm not going to say who she is, but she's been a guest on here, absolutely engaged to someone. And when we talk, there's been girls who come on here and like, hey, I just want to let you know we're not talking about my relationship. Because I know their husband, and they'll be like, as far as my OF followers are concerned, I'm completely single, right? You're pretty public about it. Kindly's pretty public about Harrison. Like some people are public about it. Obviously, Claudia Fajal and Dan Stevens are super public about it. Have you seen what's the diffifculties here? Because some girls say don't post him. Some girls say don't post him. No. Some girls only post him. I
mean, that's all up to them. Of course, that's their business. But I have never hid Dave. I mean, when I was funny. He jokes about when his coming out party was. When I hit 1 million followers on Instagram, I like shouted him out. Like he's like, oh, it took 1 million for you to say that who I existed. I'm like, you always existed, but I don't know. There was this like weird fear that I would just like lose millions of people overnight or something like that, and it's such an unfounded fear. It hasn't happened to anyone.
So did you notice any difference in your engagement?
I've always been open
so there was no difference
about my marriage.
The
whole time I've always posted him a lot. Yeah. And I have a lot of guy followers. I have a lot of female followers as well. But all my guys, a lot of them are also in relationships and married and even fathers. Like they look at us like a couple that they look up to, but they're not like trying to get with me. Like I don't have any weird DMs. I haven't had weird DMs for years.
Okay.
I'm open with everybody. I'm a married woman. I think it's freaking awesome to promote being a hot beautiful woman as a mother, as a wife, and that everybody can achieve that. Like whether you want to get a little fitter, whether you don't want to like dress nicer or whatever, like I think every woman can achieve that. And I want her to be empowered by me and feel like you can be a bomb wife. You could be a bomb girlfriend, like, and your man can like, I don't know, can be into you. Yeah. He can still follow me, but it's not like I'm trying to steal her man. You know what I mean? Like that's never really been a thing.
So you brought up my point exactly. I think it's a different type. So I'm not trying
to have a fantasy of me being their girl.
There you go. So a lot of them, it's the fantasy, right? Yeah. I'm trying to sell the if I date a girl and we're not serious, I tell her, don't post me because I'm just going to hurt your engagement.
I've blocked people that have disrespected me or Dave.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the one thing. But the other thing is now your goals, you become their goals, right? Because your relationship work. Trust me. Like the fact that again, because you're in it, because you don't recognize it, it's hard to make a relationship. I'm out here in these streets. It's fucking hard to make a relationship work in 702. You made it work. The fact you make it work, that's why I talk to Claudia sometimes for Jal about this, because if you make it work, I need to know how. And it's usually communication, trust, things like that. But like when you do it now, because you make it work, because he can be into his wife, you still be attractive. Now, instead of looking at you as a sex object, I see, oh, this is a relationship goal that I want. Yeah. Look at them working out together. Yeah. Look at them having a baby together. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have there's a different audience there for you.
I'd love to tap into that more too. Yeah. We try to. Like even on my OnlyFans, I talk with them. I ask them what they want and why they're there. And we'll literally do like polls and stuff. Like, are you guys here to kind of see like how we spice up our marriage? Are you here to see what you'd like your girlfriend to do? Whatever the fuck. And I'm there to empower women too. Like you should strip for your man. Do something fun. Like dress up, go online, shop, wear pasties, do whatever the fuck you want, but be sexy, be confident, and have some fun. You know, like he can't have fun if you're not having fun, and you can't blame him for not doing stuff if you're not doing stuff. So I try to make it an empowerment thing, and I really am for people being happy in their relationship. I don't need all the attention. I don't need more fans than I have. Like I only want the fans that I want to want.
Of course.
The ones that I want to follow me is because I want them to have that trust. The trust that I'm not the woman trying to get their man. Like that's not my thing. You know, they might fantasize about it. Okay, cool. If that made them happy, cool. But I'm not going to actually do that. Yeah. Like I'm married. I have a kid. That's it. You know, I don't know, but I like playing around and just the show is fun. Yeah. Like to be a performer, like whether you're a dancer or a model, you walking around a stage, that is a fun thing to do. And I think we all have a little side of us that wants to be a little spicy and fun. But yeah, I don't take it any further than that. I don't do nudes. I'm not ever going to do porn. That's not my thing. But everyone that follows me on Instagram see the extent that I take it to. You can see almost every inch of my body in my photos, a lot of even my videos. That's what you're going to see. And like, I might spice it up a little bit more. Maybe there's some other things on there you want to see.
Hey, swipe up. Swipe $3.50 for the next 31 days. You can swipe up on our OnlyFans right now. Yeah. Swipe up.
But about the relationship thing. I mean, I was uniquely not available during my growth of Instagram. Had I been single, my life might look a lot different.
Yes, it would definitely look
because I would have dated a lot of people.
You would have bumped into me at a bunch of parties and be like, who you dating now?
Yeah.
Who you dating now?
Because all my friends that were single during their Instagram growth and years did date a lot of people because they had so many people following them. Yeah. And they had access to celebrities, and like I don't know that my personality would have done well with that because I'm so attracted to attention that would have been bad for me. That would have been bad. I would have been in bad situations.
You and me would have been.
You know what I mean? You and me would have been really bad.
You and me would have been at the Playboy Mansion.
It would have been fun as hell. Don't get me wrong.
You would have been at the Playboy Mansion introducing me to some dude.
I'm so like. I find people so interesting that I'm like, oh, this one's interesting, but he's interesting, I wouldn't know what the fuck to do. Right. It's too many options.
Too many open receivers, not enough footballs. Like, too many open receivers, not enough footballs.
I'd have just been like, I don't know. I'm almost like glad it didn't happen to me.
I can't imagine you and me hanging out at the Ignite party and be like, which one is it?
I went to a bunch of Ignite parties as a married woman.
Wait, I saw you at the Ignite party. What am I talking about?
We've been to a couple.
All right, so here we go. Another mother who is in fantastic shape but doesn't ever go to the gym. Speaking of incredible genetics, is Jamie Villamor.
Oh my God, she's ridiculous.
It's like it's crazy. She's like, yeah, I was thinking about working out. I was like, Jamie, what the fuck?
She's like, I eat ice cream almost every day. I was like, Jamie. Really, dude? Like, you're
Baskin Robbins every single day. Like
I can't. I just wouldn't be able to do it.
But man, she can shoot a gnat off a donkey's ass at 200 meters with an AR-15.
Badass.
Very talented woman. She has a question for you. Two questions.
She has a question?
First question is, when are we getting back together? Because I miss you. That's the first one.
I love her. We talk all the time, but yeah, she's a busy woman. She's
She is
hard
a busy
to catch.
woman. She is. And
She's all like Carmen Sandiego, like all over the world.
her and I went to a bowling event during the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. That's the last time I saw her.
Yeah. She actually mentioned something about that.
Yeah. And then,
I've been a little out of this loop, I guess you could say, with the mom stuff, like COVID, and I had a baby, and then I had like my niece living with us, and so I was out of the loop. But now I'm like looping back in. Like this year, 2022, I'm trying to do more podcasts. I'm trying to like be involved. So yeah.
her second question is, will you work out with me? And she leaves a little heart.
Of course. I mean, like, she looks better than most fitness models, like, not training.
Isn't it crazy? It's crazy.
Yeah, she's like, she has two kids, I think 3 with a step kid maybe, and she looks amazing. I've only had one so far, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to keep my shit together. I'll work out with her. Sure.
You know what I want to do?
If you work out with me, if you shoot with me, I'll work out with you.
Will you do a vlog? Let's do a vlog where you guys like both train me, and then we do basketball cardio at the end.
Sure. Let's do that. Let's do it.
Basketball cardio is really good when you don't know how to play basketball. It's actually so much harder because you don't know how to play.
What you're doing? Okay, you have to focus on it.
Yeah, it's like I bring my friends in because I hate straight line cardio. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate the jump rope and I hate the treadmill. But if
you want your mind to be
exactly
busy. I think you would like kickboxing or boxing also.
No, I did jiu-jitsu for a while. I was a martial arts instructor.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, like, I love running routes. That's the other thing, like sprinting, but running routes and then catching the football. To me, that is like awesome cardio too. That's another thing.
That sounds fun.
Yep.
Do you do that often?
During COVID, I did it every week. I took like 20 guys out to that field out there on Sunset Park or whatever, and we would just run routes and just play football.
I'd love to try sometime.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Fun.
It's pretty awesome.
Invite me if you have another.
Oh, definitely will. I love teaching people how to throw a football. It's such a cool skill to have.
Yeah.
To be able to throw a spiral.
Actually, I have a park right outside my house, and we always watch the like teenagers playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're so talented. It's so cool to see like the up and coming like football players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool. So I ask a lot of the people who come on here about, because we've had a bunch of people talk about this. A lot of the men come on here, talk about testosterone and estrogen.
Okay.
And I was curious, what do you think as a trainer? Do you have any male clients, or are all your clients female?
I have a lot of male clients.
Okay. Your male clients, do you ever recommend TRT, or do you ever recommend them get it checked?
I have not enforced it as a preliminary thing for them to have to do. I'm not shying away from the fact that it can help.
Yeah.
I think it's becoming a lot more known. I was even thinking about this as a nurse, because people could be prescribed that from their doctor, and now it's like you can go to hormone clinics and find out your TRT is low, and you can get prescribed exogenous testosterone, and it really does make a difference, hugely. And I don't know all the factors of why men's testosterone is so much lower. It's got to be like the shit they put in their food, or maybe like other, I don't know what else is radiating us that's making it go down so quickly, but it is a thing. And I mean, there's other natural ways to boost your testosterone, but we just don't do it as a society anymore. Like, we're not out hunting and gathering. We're not out like lifting. Well,
that's the answer.
We're not doing shit that we used to do. So they're losing it so fast. And my whole thing is, I don't want to emasculate men more than I need to. Like, I don't think that that's the way to motivate someone, is to be like, oh, you need more testosterone. If you ask me, I cannot gain muscle. I'm doing everything I can. I'm eating, I'm working out, and I can't. And I'm like, yeah, then look into this.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It's literally like your levels are off, and you have no control over that. So go into a hormone clinic or see a doctor or whatever, and you could easily test it. You can even test it online, what your levels are.
I tell.
But hormones are huge for your. I mean, you might not even be able to grow. There's guys and girls that they're just built to be tiny and skinny, and they just cannot gain muscle mass no matter how much they eat and train, and you won't be able to put on mass without help.
Dude, 10 months. I'm 44.
Yeah.
After 10 months, it was shocking.
Really?
Night and day. I mean,
do you take TRT?
Yeah, I'm on 170 a week right now, and I'm on estrogen blocker.
What estrogen blocker?
Astrazole, is that what it's called? It starts with A.
You take it all the time? Every
once
day?
a week.
Once
I take it once a week. I take three quarters of a pill. So at first you take it, and then they see if you need an estrogen blocker. So at first that's when you feel like this big pump, but then the estrogen builds up, and then they put you on an estrogen blocker. If your estrogen gets too low, you're going to get body aches. You're actually your joint, because you need estrogen to rebuild bone tissue.
You need it as part of the muscle building process as well. You have to have some.
Yeah, but I mean, I've talked to people who've gotten off Adderall because it's, you know what scurvy is, right? Scurvy is a vitamin C deficiency.
Yeah.
Vitamin C is not a miracle cure, but if you have scurvy, it's a miracle cure.
Yeah.
And testosterone is not a miracle cure unless you're 35 years old and your shit is in the 200s. Then it's a miracle cure.
It is, yeah.
That the thing for me that I've seen is that you'll go to a urologist, you'll be at 250, and he's like, hey, yeah, you're fine. Your prostate's good. You're good. And I'm like, hey, I'd like to fuck my wife once in a while. It's like, what do you mean I'm good? Like all these men committing suicide at the age of 50.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's why. And then
I honestly can't even imagine it, because it's like, there's nothing you could do. You can't just give yourself higher like sex drive out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, there are people who talk
things.
about ketones and all this other shit. Believe what you want. TRT, they make it out of wild yams. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Exogenous testosterone is actually formulated from wild yams.
But you know what's so funny is like I saw people taking, whether it's steroids or testosterone, because they're prescribed. So all of a sudden you have a stamp of approval because your doctor said it's okay.
Yeah.
But society says it's not until your doctor diagnoses you. No one's even going around checking levels. That's not even part of your standard exam.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
It's crazy.
They don't give a shit until you come to them and say, I'm so depressed because whatever the fuck's going on with my body. Like I can't build muscle. I can't, screw my wife, whatever. It's crazy that that's not something we're even trying to help people with. We're waiting till they're screwed.
I think it's on purpose.
Yeah. So I always thought that was bizarre because I'm like,
I think it's
if
on
this
purpose.
can actually help people, and we prescribe it in random scenarios, but we won't give it to everyone that, or even check their levels to see if they have stuff wrong. I have clients that I tell them, get your levels checked. I literally tell them, if nothing's working, go freaking check your hormones, all three. You can actually, I always send them a link. There's actually a self-home test for through Amazon. You could check your estrogen, your testosterone, and your progesterone. Like those are the three main ones that are off for everybody, male and female. And no, I'm a full believer in it. And now that there's hormone clinics, it's not even like a backdoor alley thing anymore to like take steroids or to take hormone therapy.
Well, so those are two different things.
It used to be that way. It used to be that testosterone was called a steroid and you shouldn't take it because it's illegal, blah, blah, blah.
There is some testosterone in steroids, but like when we're talking about anabolic steroids versus androgenic testosterone.
Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to
but I'm telling
differentiate between the two. I was just saying in general, it used to have a huge stigma.
Yeah, for sure.
To even take tests. And a lot of people, if you say that you take tests and they're not even caught up with the times, they'll be, oh, you're on steroids.
Yeah, it's fine because you can kick their ass because you're on test. Anyway.
I've never been on tests, so I don't know what it feels like.
So here's the thing. This exists because of testosterone. I was in a funk. I was in a bad place. I was 38. My test just flew off the edge. I have an ex. She tells people that I wasn't interested in sex. She's not lying. I wasn't. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I was like, a lot of it had just died for me. And around 42, I started I'm building. Every time I build muscle, it's because I'm getting fatter. And every time I get lean out, my arms just shrivel. They just disappear. When I get on test and it's just I feel like I'm 19 again.
Yeah.
I hear about people getting off Adderall because of it. The focus then leads to me starting this podcast. I start a business. I have a business right now where I teach a master's program. All of that started because of the focus that came from this. And then I'm in the gym 7 days a week because of it. It is night and day.
It's night and day.
But it's night and day for me because I'm 44 years old. Like my shit was down in the 300s.
Did you get on it through a hormone replacement clinic?
Went to the same place that Bradley goes to, Ageless Men. Bradley. He has,
Bradley.
he was my guest last week.
Okay.
He Ageless Men.
Okay, and will they give you, like, what is their dosage that they give you?
So it depends. So, like, here's the thing. So if you take exogenous test and your fat will turn the test into estrogen, right?
Yeah.
They're like one molecule away.
Okay.
So now what happens is you need to take an estrogen blocker. So if you're overweight, you're the same age as me, but you're overweight and your levels are at the same amount, you're going to have to take more tests than I am.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm not as fat. So if I would take 170, my levels, my free test at 980 right now.
Where do they want the levels to be at? Where do they want test levels?
I mean, somewhere between 800 and 900, somewhere,
okay.
maybe 950.
It's like a healthy male.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some people, like I saw this thing. Deontay Wilder took a test and had not taken any exogenous testosterone, and his free test was at 1100 natural. But if you look at Deontay Wilder, it makes sense.
Is he like a big athlete?
He's a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight contender.
Oh, okay.
He's a black dude who's like, his waist is like this. He looks like David Robinson. Like his waist is like this, broad shoulders, and just super ripped. But he lives at 1100 naturally.
Wild. Wow.
Whereas like for me at 44, like I dropped down into the 300s.
What I can tell you about, for me personally, is when I work out, I'm more sexual. When I lift weights, I'm highly horny.
Okay, so now
that has nothing to do with exogenous hormones, but I do know that it triggers me to have higher sex hormones. That's
correct. Okay, so now there's a couple of studies, one from UNLV, where they actually show pictures of women to men before they gamble. when they show the pictures of attractive women to men before they gamble, their testosterone levels go up. And they bet more. They bet bigger amounts. They're more risk taking when they do it. They also test men. They give them a sports car to drive for a week and then test their testosterone levels. Testosterone levels go up. So now you have to think about like a blister, right? When I lift weights for a while, my hand develops blisters because evolution made it so that my hand can protect itself. The dead skins, keratin, whatever, it'll protect the innards of my hands. If I lift weights a lot, my bone density will increase. My tendon density will increase. My muscles will tear and I'll get bigger muscles. Evolution made it so that I will get bigger and stronger the more I use my muscles and use my body. And we can see that obviously. Well, that's the thing. Your body will produce more testosterone up until later in life because it's trying to help it's trying to help you. That's exactly right. So now if you don't use it and you're just eating shitty food and you like growing up in Texas, a rite of passage is you played football and you tackled people. You at some point got into a fist fight and you bench pressed 250 pounds. And the number of people I know that have never done those three things is shocking. Never been in a fight. And I'm not telling you to go get in a fight. No. I'm just saying like I don't know if it was something in the water back when I was growing up in Texas, but it was the people.
You grew up in Texas?
Yeah, I'm from East Dallas. The people I grew up with are just bigger human beings. Like the individuals that I played football with in high school and went and joined the military with, because like a quarter of the guys I served with were from Texas. We are just bigger humans. And I don't know why that is, but I think that if you take some of those stimuli away, you get smaller, more frail individuals. I think that could be one of the reasons why we see that. Also, that in the processed food and stuff like that. But I was always interested. Anytime I talk to a personal trainer, what their belief is on that. And I think at this point, the stigma should be gone. Like it
should be, and that's what I'm noticing. It's not stigma anymore. Like I will tell people that. I mean, I'm not gonna tell them right off the bat, like go take TRT. I'm not. That's not part of my like regimen.
Yeah.
Like people are still getting.
Well, results. I tell everybody to get
people.
measured.
If you check out my challenge results, people are getting ripped like without it. But I do know that there are certain body styles that really, and if their levels are low, or if we are training for weeks on end and there's no results, I will tell them you're not getting results. You need to go get your hormones checked. This is not your fault. There's something else that we need to uncover here. And hormones will legitimately stop someone from having results just based upon their testosterone or the estrogen. Their estrogen's way too high. Their testosterone's low. It might be their thyroid is really off. Like there's a lot of other things. Their adrenals are fucked up. Like there's a lot of things there, but that can be huge. So I always have them checking it, and they can even just check it for like less than $200 on Amazon.
Well,
like it's
way less than that if you go to a HRT clinic. They're everywhere. There's over 10 million men on TRT now.
That's great.
Let me talk about philanthropy. What charities do you support? I know you talked. You did talk previously about human trafficking. It
becomes so overwhelming because there are so many charities out there. I mean, my heart is really for children and sick children in particular. My little sister had cancer growing up, and I don't know. I mean, I love to be more aware of what's going on in the world, so people can bring things to me all the time. I have people sending me GoFundMe accounts. I want to get more involved with more charities. That's definitely a goal of mine. But I mean, how can you not? Children. For sure. Children, sick children. I mean, but anytime something comes up that's relevant in the news, my husband and I donated towards the Ukraine Red Cross recently and stuff like that. But I made a small charity for kids that were leaving the Westboro to help them leave and get back on their feet.
How many people have left? I didn't ask you that. The transition,
that's a
people
good
leaving
question.
out.
I feel like it's got to be like 15 to 20. Oh my gosh, since I left.
And they have similar.
I've given money to almost every one of them that left.
You think about maybe like a Zoom support group for them or something like that?
It's interesting because we're all so very different people. You think that would be similar because we're raised similar, but we're also very different. There's a small group of them that they're all because I'm not part of the core family. The Phelps is the core family. I'm a drain, which is another outside family, and my sister ended up marrying into it, but I never was into it. So a lot of them that leave, they're like all cousins and stuff. So they kind of support each other. And I think that's really good. I think that's awesome. But I was just never one to like stay put or not push the envelope. Like living in Topeka, Kansas the rest of my life, that's like the most boring, pathetic place that like on the planet. It's just so awful. Girl. There's no adventure. There's no business. There's no people. Like it's so lame. It's so lame. I can't live there.
Yeah,
so.
I was a captain at McConnell Air Force Base at Wichita, Kansas for 3.5 years.
It's literally the winters are miserable.
Bro, the winters.
Blizzards, freezing rain, There's not even like good food. You're like eating Arby's every day. Like I can't do it. There's no culture. it's not for me.
Yeah.
I just, no, I can't. I never will.
Kansas is
so I
a
can't,
flat place.
That might be their thing, but that's just not. There's so many beautiful places in America. I actually love living in Vegas now because like there's so many beautiful places to visit so close.
Well, there's so many beautiful people that come visit you when you live here. That's why I live.
It's also fun.
Like
it's
here.
incredibly fun. It's an easy city to live in. Nobody knows this, or I don't think a lot of my friends know. They're like, oh, you live in Vegas, you're on the Strip, and you're always partying. I'm like, that's not it. But if I want to party, I can party any day of the week. I'm connected with people. Any show, any. It's the entertainment capital of the world. Any entertainment you want to see, you can find here. And there's no traffic. There's no parking issues. There's no problems really.
Yeah.
If you're working and you're making a living here, it's just so easy. You get to any part of town in 20, 25 minutes. I don't feel stressed here at all. And you can just like anyone else, you could travel easily. It's an easy airport to travel in and out of.
But this is what I try to tell my friends. So like, let's say I have a bunch of friends that come here and I need to get like a reservation for something, or it's an industry night and I want to get them into a nightclub. If we're in LA,
hell no.
Hell no. It's not gonna happen.
Nobody even knows who you are.
They don't care. They don't give a shit about you. Here, they treat you like family.
You're like a queen or a king here. Like if you spend any amount of time, like you're just networked and connected really easily. And people don't treat you like trash either. They'll actually treat you like a human. So that's kind of cool.
You know what's crazy? I used to live in LA and I get treated nicer in LA now that I live in Vegas because my ID says Las Vegas.
Oh.
Like they want to get hooked up when they come to Vegas.
Oh, that's
like they're nicer
interesting.
they treat me when I go to nightclubs in LA now because I'm from Vegas, or Miami for that matter.
Yeah.
They're cool to me because I'm from Vegas. Whereas if I lived in Miami or I lived in LA, they wouldn't shit on me if I was on fire. They don't care about me at all. You know what I'm saying?
Hilarious.
It is really interesting. Who's your favorite people to work with? So content creators like that you collab with, or photographers. Do you have any favorites?
I mean, I'll collaborate with anyone.
Yeah.
If we have a good purpose. Like I'm not choosy like that. I've always been really open to lots of different opportunities.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
You don't have a BFF?
I don't have a favorite.
You don't have a BFF? You don't have a girl that you like to shoot with all the time?
I mean, I love shooting with Mike Orangutan.
Okay.
He's my
Mike
favorite.
Tang, yes.
Mike Tang. He's my favorite of all time because he's so fucking creative. He's so original and unique. And
he's a hippie.
He was the first.
He's a hippie. Mike Tang.
He's a hippie.
Hey, shout out to Mike Tang. Asses and Shadows. Asses and Shadows.
Have you been in his house?
No, I haven't been to his house. I've hung out with him several times.
His house is like a photo, like it's like a photo gallery.
Yeah.
You're walking into different rooms, and this is like the selfie room, and this is like the plant room, and you might as well be high while you're not even high, like walking through his house.
So he's Venezuelan, and he's got this really cool accent. He's got this really cool
and he
English
is the best
accent.
hype man of the world.
Yeah,
I've never felt so beautiful and stunning but not creeped on
Yeah.
while having my photos taken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and we have a good relationship. Him and his wife are married. They've been married for almost as long as me and Dave.
He is a true artist. Christina, she's awesome. She helps with everything.
They're beautiful people. They're so non-judgmental.
Yeah,
they're great hype people. They're not. There are a lot of people in this industry that get competitive or weird or like. They're not. They're just such good people.
Yeah, dude, Mike Tang is the shit.
And I don't have a lot of people that I know in this when I say this industry, like anything like social media involved, or the married couples still together and they're a bomb married couple. I'd say him and Christina, Michelle and Jimmy Lewin. There's not a lot of them. Really.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to know why you don't know a lot of them?
Why?
Because they keep to their damn self.
They won't tell anyone they're married.
They don't go out with us. They don't hang out with us. That's why.
I will tell you, ladies, don't be scared if you want to shut your man out. You're not going to lose your followers. You're not going to lose anyone that already loves you.
Yeah.
Even married men will still keep following you.
Yeah.
Because there was something else about you. It's not just a hot girl, because hot girls are dime a dozen.
All right.
Really.
So speaking of that, I ask every guest this. Is monogamy? What do you think monogamy is for everything? Do you think monogamy is something you got to work at? You think monogamy is a natural state? What do you think about monogamy?
I think I'm a very spontaneous, curious person, and I've had to find my belief system on this myself. And I like to find things through trial and error and through experience. Okay. Not just what I'm told. But I've been married for almost 12 years, and my husband and I. We've done things with other people. We've had threesomes here and there and stuff like that. We've dabbled in fun things. And because I'm curious, I always like, if I can't have that, do I want it? I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been that way. So I've had fun. And I'm not going to say people can't have fun. You just have to be really careful, because just anything that you dabble in that's fun has an extreme to it, right? So if you dabble into this drug, I'm dabbling into drugs, it's fun, but then if you take it too far, there's some shit on the other side that's going to fuck you up. So just have moderation with things, feel it out, see how you think, whatever. For us, we've had fun, but I haven't necessarily not want to ever have that kind of fun again. But I also know that to me,
you don't need it.
I don't need it.
Got it.
I've been there, done that, but I also, we're such good communicators that I wouldn't advocate this for everybody.
Yeah.
You really have to have a solid relationship, because if there's any distrust, it's going to screw
For sure.
both of you, or one of you will go psycho and overanalyze everything and get jealous or whatever. One person will be more into it than the other person. You really have to be careful with anything. And anything that's really fun and shiny, it has an extreme and it has a consequence.
Hell yeah.
So I'm not saying I think people should have fun. But
I know some people that definitely
cost.
should not. I know some people who should definitely not have threesomes. I've talked to some female friends of mine.
You have to be super solid. And we're both just such loyal people. Yeah. Neither one of us has ever cheated on each other. Yeah. Even when we were dating and we were I'm not a cheater. He's not a cheater. It's just, we knew that wasn't going to be our downfall. But there are other people that's not going to be good for. So I'm not saying I advocate it for everyone, but I also don't judge people that want to play around. You just have to be good.
Are there any type of people you don't like to work with? You don't have to say specific names, but
this is a weird switch.
Huh?
Work with? We just went from talking about
sorry. I'm sorry. When I said favorite people to shoot with, collabs, whatever, the people that you don't like to work with, is there
No. I don't like to be negative about that. No one even pops to mind.
Okay.
But if I don't work with you, I probably don't like it. But I have my favorites. Mike is one of my favorites because we have such a good relationship. He shoots so freaking quick. He makes me look amazing. But I know he's not going to over edit me. I'm going to look somewhat legit. And I'll post my BTS videos, and we also have the photo, and people can see it's not like a different person. I don't look drastically different. So I like certain people.
Mike Tang has a better understanding of how to use shadows than any photographer in the world.
He's a light expert. He's so good at photography, and he's been doing it for so long. I think he's now more interested in cinematography, actually, which he's also good at. But he's just... have you ever been around someone and you're just like, this is a fucking genius?
Yeah.
This is a walking...
I feel like that,
This is a walking, living genius. Whether it's an artist, have you ever just been around a musician and watched them create a song out of thin air? And you're like... how the fuck did you just do that? I don't know, you guys like documentaries. I'm obsessed with documentaries. And when you see someone you might not even be a fan of that person, like Justin Bieber. I'm not a huge fan, but you're an artist. You're fucking a genius, right? You know how to write songs. Or Taylor Swift. I'm not a huge fan, but when you listen to her write a song, you're like, you're a fucking genius.
Yeah.
I literally have appreciation for you because I can't do that. And that's how it is when you're around Mike, that you're you know how to find a girl's angle. Any woman on the planet, anyone he's shooting, he will make you look sick.
Well,
he'll make you feel good.
But he motivates, even at Paradise Challenge, he motivates all of us.
Yeah.
Not just the models.
And he's just a good vibe person.
Yes, that's exactly my point.
You don't get bad vibes.
I wish I could steal that. I want to copy, because he's asked me before.
I'm a person that I can give people bad vibes sometimes.
Yeah.
I can get impatient, or I can get this or that. They've never been impatient. And they work with every walk of life. They work with narcissists. They work with weirdos. They work with starving people that want all these followers. You work with kind of weird people, some of us are cool, but some of us are not that cool.
Yeah.
And they're cool to all of them, and they treat them all well, and they treat them all like humans. They don't treat them like the girls are trashy, or that they're just going to wait, take your money. I've worked with photographers, they only care about the money.
Yes.
Or they want to sleep with the girls, or they want both, or they want to use their power and influence.
That's actually what I was trying to get at previously.
Get over yourself.
That's what I was trying to get at previously.
There's none of that.
Yeah.
I don't feel weird vibes.
No, I know you don't get with Mike, but what I'm saying is,
but
with
there
other
are photographers.
That's exactly what I was asking before.
They're in it to have power over the women.
There you go.
Or to sleep with them, or to manipulate them, or to make money off of them. And they're all about the money. I'm like, fuck off. We're here building empires together.
Yeah.
Let's build together. Me and Mike, we've collaborated, and not, I'm just going to say we collaborated. We've helped each other grow.
Yeah, of course.
Instead of just, I'm going to make money off of your back. And you're to me just a dollar sign. No, you're a human. I'm a human. You have talent. I have talent. Let's work together. To me, those are the people I vibe with.
Yeah.
In this state of my life, I'm 36. If you don't have any ounce of quality to add to my life, I'm not going to hang out with you.
For sure.
I'm literally not going to.
Yeah, Mike's great, man.
So, and it's not just him. It's just any of my friends, Jamie. I'm hanging out with Jamie. She adds value to my life. I'm hanging out with you. You add value to my life. I'm just at a point in my life where I just don't care enough about the bullshit.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Whenever Mike's here, I try to set him up with locations or whatever.
Oh, cool.
Mike is incredible photographer. You know, if you need a photographer and if you need a sniper, then Jamie Villamor. Jamie Villamor. If you need a therapist, that is
she'll
Jamie
help
Lynn.
you learn self-defense.
Yeah, she'll help you. Do you know how many times I've hung out with her?
I need to hang out with her more, honestly. Like I said, Carmen Sandiego, she's all over the world, kicking ass at different things, and oh man. But she told me that she was thinking about us doing like a self-defense class together. For sure. Like a bomb ass one where you walk in and you're like in a room where you have to like figure out like what obstacles are about to pop up. Like it's like I don't even know.
This is my relationship with Jamie Lynn. I walk up to Jamie, hey Jamie, what's going on? And a switchblade or a pistol will come out of nowhere. Hey, I just got this new pistol, and we're on my podcast. Go back and watch the episode with me and Jamie Villamor. Jamie Villamor will pull a pistol out, put it on the table. It's like, oh, let me see what kind of ammo I'm using here.
My God.
And I'm like, we're on the air, and she's got a knife. She's got a Glock out here. Jamie Villamor. And then I was doing an interview. It was like, who are you with? Oh, I'm with this company here. And then a switchblade. I'm holding the microphone. There's a switchblade in my face, and like, okay, all right, that's crazy.
It. Yep, that sounds exactly
right. She
right.
always has a switch. Dude, one time when I did dating intelligence, she goes, "We've got you ammunition." Jamie Villamor gave me 9mm Parabellums. That's
great.
That's what I left there with. Coming to a gun near you. That's Jamie Villamor. I keep saying Jamie Lynn. Sorry, Jamie Villamor.
I got my gun permit recently here in Vegas, and so we have a date to go shooting together. So.
That's awesome. There you go, man. Breaking that sound barrier.
Yeah.
You don't make any money off the book. You mentioned that before. You got paid up front.
I mean,
How did that work?
It worked out where they offered the advance. So advance is like the money ahead of time, for what they expect the sales to make. There's different styles when you go to sell a book. You could do advance plus royalties. You could do just the advance. And usually if you do advance plus royalties, you get less up front and more on the back end. So we negotiated advance up front. Yeah. And that's how it worked. And it also felt less stressful because I wanted to put out the content not to make sales. I just wanted to put out the content because apparently it was supposed to help people. That's what my husband told me and a couple of my friends. And I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I think people are going to hate me after this, but whatever. I'm exposing myself that I was part of this church and, it's not a good place. And so it ended up working out perfect because I wasn't like trying to push sales or it didn't come about like that. Like
it's such a good book, man.
Yeah. Was it?
It's such a good book.
Thank you.
I read a lot. So like,
I can't stand the sound of my own voice
really?
Or like, I feel like I need to go back and read it again just to remember everything I said because I'll have people come up to me, oh, that one part. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like that was like in 2013. Like, did I say that?
Did you ever receive any legal notification from the church after you released the book?
I didn't. And that was actually a huge fear of mine because they're so litigious and I was exposing them in certain ways. We had a whole like legal team go over the things I had to say. Obviously it's a memoir. So it's my memory of what happened, which is not supposed to be, you're not supposed to legally go after someone, but I never really made any like criminal statements of any kind. I just hypocrisies religiously and otherwise, and things that you can find in the news.
Of course.
Like they were so public with their shit that it's all over the media. So you can't even really deny it. But I was very scared about that. They did make a statement though, when it came out, and I was so naive and shy back then. I was not the person I am today, which is kind of ballsy and bold with what I say. I was just kind of like, oh my God, I don't know. I miss my family and I don't know what I feel. And I just, sorry, I was part of it. So my dad, we were doing a whole media tour when it comes out, right? And I think I was on like Pierce Morgan or like Katie Couric or one of these big shows. And my dad called in somehow some portion of the book was leaked. And he was like, oh, let me tell you all the things that you're wrong about. So first of all, I didn't even know books get leaked back then. I knew nothing about anything.
I'm going to tell you right now, all what you just said happened on purpose. 100%.
From
100%.
From the publicity side?
I'm telling you right now, whoever was interviewing you 100% knew that was going to happen. I don't care what they're telling you.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe
100%
that. Everything's very strategic in media. I found that over the course of time. But so I was just like, okay, I didn't lie about that. But I felt a little caught off guard because I didn't know that you could read a book before the book's released. Yeah. But my dad came on there. My dad was such an intimidating man, very, very aggressive. He was a very lead spokesperson for the church. I mean, you watched all the interviews. So he was one of the lead guys to speak out on things. So he was very ballsy about my interviews. And he just made a bunch of shit that I was just like, well, that's hearsay. You could say it's not true, but I'm saying it is true, So it didn't really go anywhere. He didn't really make a big stink. It didn't affect me negatively. It didn't affect the book negatively. I was able to make New York Times bestselling list the first week. It was on the digital side. So I don't know if you guys know, there's like the hardcover side and the digital side. It did on the digital. So that was really cool. And I didn't expect that at all, But yeah, it was a cool experience. I would actually write another book, you know, because my life's changed a little bit since then.
You should.
If anyone has an idea, I will say go for writing a book. It's a really cool experience. And even if you don't have personal experience in writing, you can get a co-author and you can tell your story in that way. So that's something I did at the time, because I didn't really, that's one of the reasons I didn't want to write a book in the beginning, because I'm like, I'm not an author. Like, who am I joking?
But it was authentic.
Yeah.
It was
and then we were able to do it together. So I did for a year and a half, I did weekly Skype sessions with my co-author, and she was what is it called?
A Pulitzer Prize.
Prize. Yes.
Pulitzer Prize winning author.
Prize winning author. And ironically, her last name is Pulitzer.
Okay.
Lisa Pulitzer. So she was award winning from helping women tell survivor stories.
Yes.
So that for me was a perfect match. So that's why we wrote it together.
Okay. Last thing I want to ask you. There are people who are going to watch this, and you know, it's almost like we said before, when you put the crab in the boiling water, he doesn't even know it's boiling. They're in a fucked up situation right now, and they maybe don't even recognize it.
What way? Like in a cult or abusive relationship?
Let's do all of it.
Okay.
They're getting gaslit by their partner, or they're in some kind of business relationship, or an MLM that takes over their whole life.
Oh God, I've dealt with all of those.
All of those things right now, and they're afraid to leave. Or they're afraid, because one of the things is like, if you leave that religion, it's like, oh man, all these things I believe was I that naive this whole time?
Yeah.
It's that really tough transition. What would you say to those people to help them grasp, hey, maybe it's time for me to get out of this situation?
Okay. What I'm gonna say is that whenever you're in the noise, so like if you're in the room with the religion, or you're in the room with the people you think are twisting things, you can't hear anything. You can't even hear your own thoughts. You have to get out of that room. So in order to feel your intuition, feel your heart, feel what's right or wrong, you have to be away from all the noise. So if that means take a few days of being by yourself, if that means take a week being by yourself, to hear what your thoughts are. Because if your thoughts are so clouded by what everyone else is, you're used to the humiliation, you're used to the scare tactics, you're used to the abuse, you're not going to be able to hear or think straight. You're just going to be manipulated. So the only way to not be manipulated is to be by yourself, because those are your true thoughts, those are your true feelings, and you can kind of settle it down a little bit. And if you feel like even double-minded about things, you can like, okay, I feel double-minded. Now you can sit down and write journal, like, okay, this is how I feel about this is how I feel about that. And you look at it and you can make sense of it. But being around all the noise, like if you're in a relationship, just listening to the person, just argue, you're not going to see shit. You have to be away from them and just with your own feelings and thoughts to get straight and get clear. You're not gonna understand it otherwise, you know? And it'll feel really scary. Every part of being alone can feel really scary when you're used to everyone telling you what to think and telling you what to feel. But once you get past the scared part, you feel so empowered, because you now know what you feel and think. You don't need to be told. You don't need to be like coerced or judged into what you're thinking. You can just be like, oh, okay, this is what I think. For better or worse, this is what I think. And there's nothing like being able to have your own thoughts and feelings, to feel empowered. There's nothing like it. Like living your life in what other people are telling you to do will just create more and more anxiety for you. And, it creates more confusion too. It's just like, oh shit, I don't know what I think, so let me ask this person. Like, that's the best thing I can tell you.
I love it.
I don't know if that's going to apply to every situation. But
that's perfect, man. That's perfect, man. Slavery was outlawed in 1865. You don't fucking own anybody. Right? So listen, man, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you so much for coming out here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
I'm so excited we finally did it.
Yes, for sure. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. A lot of you guys haven't subscribed to the on YouTube. Make sure you do that, please. If you want to leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, I really appreciate this. Let me know who you want coming up. I really appreciate this, guys. If you want to, leave in the comments some words of inspiration, maybe something that you went through that's like this in the comments for this, I would really appreciate that as well. We got a bunch of great guests coming on, man. It's really awesome that we had Lauren coming on here, because your story. I read your book immediately when I met you.
Cool. I love that.
And then I actually messaged you a couple times about it, and it was just one of these things where it's like, it was just so crazy that I'd known you from this like casual, just interviewing you on a red carpet, and then learning all that stuff. It was really, really great and inspirational to hear all that. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. We will talk to you very soon. I will see you all next week.